Tony Dunn, ain't nothing to it but to do it, brother. Let's roll.
In a world where Carolina Panthers fans have an insatiable thirst for Panthers news and opinions, only one podcast roars ferociously. It's the C3 Panthers Podcast.
Take a seat, Panther fans. Strap in. We've got a lot to talk about on the longest-running Panthers podcast around. It's the C3 Panthers Podcast, brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com, where every Tuesday night we chop up the latest news and opinions from the fan perspective. The combine is in the books. The men, we saw them in their underwear. We saw them jump high, throw fast, run fast. Not as fast as many years, though, in some cases. And now we are immense already overwhelmed with free agency talk. We'll talk about Derek Carr to Richardson, to Anthony Richardson, to the Lamar Jackson fiasco, and some nuggets of Panther news and potential trade-up opportunities continue to fly through the rumor mill. I'm going to do that with my homeboys, each like I do each and every week. My co-host, Cody Lashney, how you doing?
Tony Dunn. We always have a big show on Tuesday night, man. It never, ever fails year round. Man, we have so much to talk about. Derek Carr in the division with the New Orleans Saints. Lamar Jackson is all in the news. Is the NFL colluding against him? Are the Panthers going to move up to draft one of these quarterbacks that we've seen in the draft? Man, there's so much to talk about, Tony Dunn. But you know, as always, we're going to do it with the best damn Panther fans in all of YouTube. You already know them and love them. It's Adam Sanders, our guy Drew, Algernon Ramsey, Anthony Price, Joey the Blind Panther Esquivel, James S50, Josh, Juan Conde, Leon Hart, what's up? Smells like blue, the Cardiac Cat 13, White Chocolate Espresso, Right Bets, and Skunk Ape Mysteries. Tony Dunn, ain't nothing to it but to do it, brother. Let's roll.
The voice that makes a moist, CK in the house. How you doing, my friend?
Oh, you know, just out here living dreams, as they say. It's a lot to talk about tonight, and I'm just happy to be here with you fellas to talk about it because, you know, I love the fact that everybody has different opinions, and we tend to disagree quite often, but you know, we still come back here and we're all brothers and family and C3 and in Panthers fandom, and I'm just happy to be here with everybody to talk about what we've seen transpire today in the past week as well.
Yes, sir.
Let's go ahead and jump into the show. The number's 252-228-5098. That's 252-228-5098. We'd love for you to be a part of the broadcast. Check us out on YouTube. Smash the thumbs up button. Get in the comments. There's a lot of people in the chat already. And just engage with the show. That's what we're looking for. And boy, I gotta say this, Cody, you mentioned it, is that each and every week there's a lot of to talk about. There's a lot to talk about. And it feels like and we've had a running joke so long in the background is every time I'm like, I think tonight's gonna be a short show, it turns into a 4-hour argument about something or discussion, right? And there's been actually more to it than we first thought.
Sounds like the C3 podcast.
Yeah, the NFL has been so good at just owning and occupying the headlines all year round. I mean, you got the ACC tournament right now starting, and nobody, you know, it's like still just NFL everywhere. I don't know if though this year, with this news, I feel more anxiety this year than I find all of this immensely stressful at this moment.
You should. The Panthers could literally do one of 5 different things from now until the start of next season at the quarterback position.
And all of them could be awesome, or all of them could like,
right.
Custer's last stand.
They all have their pluses and minuses. They all have their upsides and downsides, however you want to say it. That's why Scott Fitterer, this is going to be a make it or break it year for Scott. Like, we're really going to see what kind of front office we have based on what the Carolina Panthers do in the next couple months. But, boys, let's just jump into it real quick. Let's react to the news that Derek Carr is now going to be playing us twice a year with the New Orleans Saints. Derek Carr agreed to a 4-year deal for $150 million with $100 million in total guarantees per Mike Garafolo. He gets $70 million effectively fully guaranteed, $60 million at signing, another $10 million in year 3, vesting after year 1. Carr structures his deal to accommodate Saints cap issues. So more voodoo by the Saints front office. They always seem to make things work. But I mean, let me ask you all this: did the Saints overpay for Derek Carr, or are they now the de facto front runner to win the NFC South?
When it comes to this, I first have a question about the contract. The $70 million, right? So he gets the 60, and then he still, I mean, they're paying him $35 million for 2 years, right? And then in year 3,
right,
they probably still owe him even more money, right? So, I mean, this guy he didn't come cheap. And to answer your question, I would say that, yeah, it's like, first, they are better now with Derek Carr than they were without him. The other thing is, this is starting money quarterback now, $35 million a year.
Right.
They're committing to him being the starter. And this is not an overpay if they build around him and they are successful. It's an overpay if they regret this in a year. This is very kind of eerily similar to the Teddy Bridgewater contract in some ways, is that it's a little more commitment than we wanted. And I think that's why the Panthers weren't really a front runner in this discussion.
I don't think that that's anything wrong with that. I mean, I think that, here's the thing. I do believe that this makes them the front runner in the NFC South right now. Okay. Now, if any of these teams figure out their quarterback situation in this same off season, be it the draft, or if the Panthers happen to go get good old Lamar Jackson, or if the Falcons go and get him, or somebody else makes another splash move, that would then change my mind on who's the de facto leader. But as of right now, yes, this makes the Saints the front runner because they have a quarterback that is middle of the pack. I don't think anybody has the quarterback that has proven to be middle of the pack yet. So that'd be my only reason, and my only caveat there is I think this could rapidly change. And I also think that there's the fact that the Saints are able to do what they do with the cap is just, honestly, they should make it illegal. I don't know how the hell they do it.
They're the Federal Reserve, CK.
I don't understand.
They just print money on there.
Well, I don't understand how they can do it, but no other teams can. You understand what I mean? Like, it doesn't make any sense. There's no logic to that. And I'm sure that there's something coming down the line that's going to make this hurt. Like, at some point, this is going to be something that you're going to have to pay the piper. It hasn't happened yet in the past 5 years when they've been in cap hell every single year, but it is something
it's voodoo,
that I think,
man.
Yeah, I think that I would like to think that it's if it's possible to do what they're doing and not have it be a major impact in some way, shape, or form now or in the future, then and the fact that other teams aren't doing it is just dumb. It doesn't make any sense to me. Everybody has to know about what they're doing, and the fact that nobody is just mind-boggling to me.
I wonder what this means for Alvin Kamara, right? We've heard the news that Derrick Henry is on the trading block. Christian McCaffrey was moved last year, and Alvin Kamara was a contract very similar. I think it was the same year McCaffrey's, unless it was the year after. I think it was the same year. So they were like really in the kind of the same place with a running back who was really, really good, but also expensive.
Right.
They're to trade them just like the McCaffrey trade will leave them with some dead money. I think they just have said we'll keep dead money around, like it's always going to be a part of our organization where we're just going to keep adding people. I wonder if Kamar's traded. I know that he's got some pending off-field stuff where he broke that guy's jaw or whatever in Las Vegas. and he still hasn't been suspended for those things. So,
well, he hasn't been found guilty of anything yet. So
yeah, they're waiting. But at some point, that is also going to catch up with it. So I wonder what it means for Alvin Kamara. But it's like, hey, they're not hesitant to bring in what they think is the next real improving free agent piece to their team.
And should they be wrong for feeling that way? I mean, the last time they had a quarterback, just a pure pocket passing quarterback, it was Drew Brees, and even though Derek Carr is certainly not Drew Brees, he at least fits that same kind of mold. He can push the ball down the field. He still has a live arm. They're going to like the idea of him throwing to Chris Olave, handing the ball off. I think that's what the Saints still want to do. I think they would love to still have Alvin Kamara. I don't know if they actually will or not. But, I mean, if you're the Saints, I understand why you would make this deal. Apparently, he favored New Orleans because they were the only ones willing to trade draft capital for him even before the Raiders were going to cut him. So, it's kind of like, hey, man, they were showing me that they love me. So, I'm going to go there. The contract is obviously massive. But do you think now, I mean, obviously we're Panther fans. We all think the Panthers are going to win. But, now that they do have Derek Carr, pretty much everyone and their mama is saying that the New Orleans Saints are the odds-on favorites in the NFC South now. Is that too much too fast, or what do we think about that? Because, to me, you could do worse than Derek Carr, but I also think there are ways that, especially if Carolina drafts a quarterback, that potentially we could have a better chance than the New Orleans Saints this year.
Yeah, I don't think it makes them the de facto leader. What I think I agree with CK on this is that as of now, they are a better team. They've improved from where they were last year. You would think this move is a positive addition, whether how much you want to argue it is, whether it's one step or 10 steps forward. They've gotten better, and no one else has yet because the draft hasn't happened. There's, so in that light, yeah. But I think the very similar case is probably just comparable to what it would have done for Carolina. Is like we would say if we had Derek Carr, we would say we are the lead in this division because we got the best quarterback. We would go back to this crazy coaching staff and say,
he's the most proven out of every
known commodity, right? Is like, but this also tells you too, is they knew that they weren't getting a quarterback in this draft. They were picking at 10 right behind us. And they don't have a pick now. They got it in a San Francisco deal till the 30th pick. I don't know where they are.
I thought they were 28th. Because of, remember,
30th on draft. It says 28 is Buffalo. I mean, unless this is, 2023 draft order, right?
Yeah.
It goes Dallas 27, Buffalo 28, Cincy 29, and New Orleans gets the first round. San Francisco's first round pick at 30.
Who that dude says they have 29. Yeah, I think that's what Tankathon said too.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
You're on Tankathon?
Yes. Am I reading it wrong? It says.
Hold on, let me change.
This is the draft, right?
Yeah, scroll down.
And it says right there, 30.
Huh. Who that dude? You're wrong, bro.
I don't know. I mean, unless this site's wrong. I mean, it might be.
No,
I don't really care, but it's like here, it's 29 or 30. It doesn't matter.
I mean, I remember thinking that it was also in the 20s also, but hey, whatever, real quick. I mean, it's kind of unrelated, but I think it's also, it's worth mentioning in the same breath. I saved it for later, but the Seahawks breaking off Geno Smith to a 3-year deal, $105 million contract, including $52 million in the first year. And who do you think got a better deal, New Orleans or Seattle? And Seattle's picking number 5 right now. Do you think that this takes them out of the quarterback hunt in the first round? They're picking number 5. I say no, because even though it's a 3-year deal, it's only really 2 of them that are for sure guaranteed. So, if they drafted, for example, Anthony Richardson, he might be able to sit behind him for 2 years. Like, to me, they could still take a quarterback. That doesn't eliminate them from taking a quarterback early, in my own opinion.
Oh, I solved it. This is why he's right. It's 29. It technically is 29 because Miami is picking 21, but they had to forfeit their pick. And Tankathon doesn't move it.
What did they have to forfeit their pick for?
For the talking with Tom Brady.
And
oh, right. Wow. I didn't even know that they lost the first round.
Yeah, they lost that whole thing. Yep.
Yeah, what do y'all make about Geno?
I mean,
it sounds like a 2-year deal.
Yeah, I mean,
it pretty much is.
It's a basic deal. It's nothing that I think is worth writing home about personally. I agree with you, Cody. I think that all this is just them doing. I think Geno Smith. I was thinking about this when they reported this. I'm like, can you imagine what it must be like to be Geno Smith right now, having gone through what he went through to get to where he is and actually getting a contract like that? It's just got to be mind-boggling to have that type of just that roller coaster of emotions going on right there. So I'm happy for the guy. I think that I personally believe it's overpaid after one, and it's honestly a decent year. I wouldn't even say it was like a great year. Like, it was early on, but it was a decent year. And he just got broken off, and I think it's great for him, but I don't think it removes them from the contention for one of those top quarterbacks personally.
My 2 cents on the Geno stuff is like, if I was a Seahawks fan, I'd be happy about where we sat right now. Like you said, there is a cool aspect to this story, CK, is that it's like counter to the type of stories we are accustomed to hearing, right? It's like when somebody said, oh, something happened to me this past weekend, you assume like they life-changing. If they say, hey, I had a life-changing event that just happened, we generally think 9 times out of 10 the damn news is going to be bad.
Right.
This girl that works with me, her daughter won a $4 million in a scratch-off ticket in Greenville one time, like 5 years ago. I mean, she works on the same floor as me, like in the same suite. And I could not stop thinking about this. And I was telling people about it. I was just talking with a lot of people about it. And somebody said to me, man, you sound jealous. I said, no, it's not the money. Like, of course I would want the money, but like, it's so awesome to hear somebody's life improve positively so much in such a short span. So that Geno part is awesome. But I think this is great for Seattle. What I would do is I'd still take a quarterback right here.
Right.
Yeah. And by the way, the reports is that Anthony Richardson had a fantastic meeting with the Seattle Seahawks. I mean, he was ranting and raving about it, saying that it felt natural. He really likes Seattle. So, yeah, maybe that is what they do, man.
I don't think this takes him out of the quarterback discussion at all. I would be disappointed if they didn't take a quarterback. Honestly,
I think a lot
if
of
I was
Seahawks fan would be as well.
I mean, it's perfect. This is how you want to do it. You want to, in a draft where you want to maybe reach on upside, but you don't want to rush it. You don't want to put unnecessary burden on Levis or whoever your upside guy is. You don't fall off a cliff. You get a guy who's been in the league for over a decade who knows that this is, and you pay him too. Like, everybody wins here. Everybody wins here, in my opinion, for the Seahawks.
Yeah.
What does that do? Oh, I guess speaking of these guys at the combine.
Yes, sir. So listen, Anthony Richardson really was the talk of the scouting combine, and his measurables. I mean, let's be real; they're the best that we've ever seen from a quarterback at that position. We were able to kind of show, we did a live stream. Thank you to everybody that tuned in to that live stream. We were able to watch some of the combine, and Anthony Richardson has really started to impress. What did you guys think? And I'll kind of play some clips while we're talking about it here. But who was the most impressive quarterback this year at the combine, and why? Even though everyone's talking about Anthony Richardson, maybe you think it was CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud had a fantastic day throwing the football. The ball popped out of his hand really smooth. A lot to consider for Carolina. What say you, boys?
Go ahead, Tony.
As this is the combine, it caters to people like Anthony Richardson. And what I mean by that, who are physically gifted, it is a physical giftness skills show. So I expected Anthony Richardson to be the most impressive as long as he looked good throwing. You knew this is where he was going to shine the most. I think I would say that Stroud and Young both acquitted themselves very well. Like I thought this would be a place where Richardson's stock, like his star, would overshine Bryce Young, who wasn't even throwing. You were worried about how much he came in at, and he really belied put some of the size fears. I think he dampened them. So I think people feel less worried about his size as a thing. And they're confident in the tape, and they'll go to his pro day, and he'll be back to number one. And I think CJ Stroud held on. He held on to his stock very well because he's not gonna be able to beat Richardson in this type of day. It's like, yeah. And so I think everybody won here. And I would say maybe Levis comes out being the boringest one out of all of them.
I don't even know that his was.
It wasn't bad.
It wasn't bad. Like, it's just in comparison, I think it wasn't as good. And I think it's the company that he was surrounded by made it easy for him to look like the ugliest girl in the group, right? As we've talked about multiple times. Probably,
at least he didn't screw up, CK. That's actually what he needed to do is because his performance was not memorable, but that's better than it being memorable for bad reasons.
Right. I agree with that. I think, I went back and I watched all of these guys because I was not there present with you guys as much as I wanted to be. I was watching a play that was Peter Pan for a middle school. So
nice.
Yeah, that was fun. But when I did go back and watch, man, I'm like, it's hard not to be excited about a lot of these guys. And here's the thing. I fell in love with Malik Willis during his pro day, right? Because he was able to throw this deep ball that was beautiful and all that. And these guys were able to do all of that. I'm not going to be sold on these guys just based off of this. And so, but I will say this much. It's hard not to look at those and be like, man, what an Anthony Richardson could do in the NFL is gotta be enough to make you feel excited. Like, it may not be immediately impactful. My gosh, man, it feels like something that could be special. Yeah, that's what I think a lot of people are hoping for.
And I've got CJ Stroud up on the screen, his throwing performance at the combine, and it's like you see him throwing with anticipation, even throwing against air one-on-one. Like, he throws the ball to where the receiver isn't going to be. That receiver never has to make any adjustment to the football. I'm really starting to fall more and more in love with the CJ Stroud, Joe Burrow comparison because they are very comparable. They're a little bit faster than you think they are on the feet. And as a thrower of the football, the amount of touch is absolutely incredible. These guys can put the ball right where it needs to be. And that's also a leadership quality. If you're not throwing your receivers into reckless tackles, you're not getting them hurt. You need quarterbacks that know when to throw a football and when not to. And CJ Stroud, he just seems like he has that type of natural skill in abundance. And I put this on Twitter, and people wanted to clown me a little bit because I've been kind of anti-quarterback. It's not even that I've been anti. It's just I've known how hard it's going to be for the Panthers to actually be able to trade up to get their preferred quarterback. But with all of the rumors that the Panthers are indeed planning on being very aggressive in the quarterback market, then in my mind, you might as well go up and get CJ Stroud. I'm sorry, but I like the total package of CJ better. I think he's taller, has a bigger frame, and to me, his touch is absolutely incredible. And I think that would be worth it. And my final thing here, if you look at the type of offensive line the Carolina Panthers were able to put together last year, if we're able to be even, 3/4 of that, that is more than enough protection for CJ to get the ball out of his hands and get it to DJ Moore and Terrace Marshall and whatever receivers we're going to have next year. So as of this moment, if the Panthers indeed are going to trade up and be that aggressive to finally get that quarterback, yeah, my endorsement is CJ Stroud. I feel like it's time.
I don't think it's, yeah. I mean, actually, I agree. Like, if you ask me to bet on who I think is going to have the best NFL career out of the top 4 quarterbacks, I think CJ Stroud is the safest bet. I think that style of play can last in the NFL and win in the NFL. And then, I mean, Bryce Young, everybody says it's because he has this crazy it factor. Like, he's just, maybe he's more Patrick Mahomes-ish. And what I mean by that is, like, it's the intangible kind of component that's so defining to how good they are, why they're so good. And that cold-ass Joe Burrow style is the Stroud. So I would be the most happy with Stroud personally. If you ask, would I be surprised if Bryce Young had a better career than Stroud? I won't think I would be surprised, but I don't think I would probably say the riskiest of them is Levis and Richardson.
Yeah, I mean, because they're going to need some time to develop. I mean, especially Anthony Richardson. I, like everybody else, was blown away by the combine performance, but he's only had 13 starts. He only has a 53.8% completion percentage. That's not to say that he can't be a very good NFL quarterback, because I do agree that he probably has the highest upside of any quarterback to come through the draft, maybe since Cam Newton. Everybody throws around that comparison. He's very, very high ceiling type of a guy. But if you're the Panthers, I just don't know if you're going to trade all the way up into the top 5 or whatever to draft a guy that's not going to be able to start next year. It doesn't really.
Or just has some questions if they're really, it's like kind of the Trey Lance, Lamar Jackson upside, you would think.
Right.
And, is that you're betting a lot and you can't quit on that too early either. You're going to need time for it, but speaking of trading up, is it even possible? I got to the point where after when we were having the combine discussion, I just don't think that the Panthers have the capability of getting ahead of Indianapolis, who I think could trade up. Houston could trade up. Atlanta probably won't trade up, but the Detroit, like, you have to get ahead of Detroit, Seattle. I don't think Seattle will trade up now at 5, but you're going to have to get ahead of Indianapolis if you want your guy. Or have a shot at your guy, should I say. Have a shot at your guy. Can the Panthers, how far could they theoretically move up, Cody?
So Sheena Marie, she was in her, or Sheena Quick, she was doing a Spaces, and she says she thinks that the Colts are going to be the biggest problem for the Panthers wanting to move up to 1. And yeah, I mean, that's very reasonable. This is from Bo Devine. He writes for the Chicago Bears. Momentum seems to be growing for the Bears, trading down twice. League sources indicate to CBS Sports that this past week in Indianapolis, the Bears could trade down once, then trade down again in the first round of April's draft. One popular scenario has the Bears trading from 1 to 2, then from 2 to 9. The Bears deal the top pick to the Texans, who's currently sitting at number 2 overall. So the Bears, I mean, they really are the wild card in the entire draft, because they basically get to set who picks where. They hold a lot of teams in the palm of their hands right now, these Chicago Bears. So that, there's a lot of different methods, but it's looking like if you want to get your preferred guy, you're going to have to move to number 1. If you want your pick of everyone else, yeah, you're going to have to offer Chicago Bears the farm and then some to be able to go up and get it. However, if you did find yourself in a position where you're okay with Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, and Anthony Richardson, then at the number 3 pick with Arizona, who doesn't need a quarterback, they look to be a likely spot to trade down also. So lots of different ways to skin a cat here, boys.
I think Sheena's right. Is Indianapolis is the problem, and that's why I don't think them trading back to 9 is the right scenario for that. How that would happen. I think this is what, if I was Chicago, what I would do as soon as the phone, like as soon as you could trade anything, I would call Houston and I would say, let's make a friendly deal. You give us a second, or 2023 wasn't a good year for the Carolina Panthers, but I'm trying to make 2024 a better one for myself. Get started on your resolutions with Factor so you're ready for the new year. Factor's ready-to-eat meal delivery takes the stress out of meal planning and sets you up for success in the new year. Skip the grocery stores, prep work, and cooking fatigue. Instead, get chef-crafted, dietitian-approved meals delivered right to your door. With over 35 meals to choose from per week, including keto options, calorie smart, vegan plus veggie, and more, plus over 55 weekly add-ons, you'll have a ton of nutritious and flavorful options to kickstart your resolutions. Skip that overpriced takeout trap. Factor is cheaper and way more delicious than takeout. Get chef-crafted, restaurant-quality meals delivered right to your door, and they're ready to heat and eat in just 2 minutes, which means more time for you. Head to factormeals.com/C350 and use the promo code C350 to get 50% off. That's code C350 at factormeals.com/C350 to get 50% off. 3rd round pick, and we'll swap spots, because then you could then trade out of the 2 spot, and it doesn't cost you anything. You could still trade again. You could just get 1 quick asset real quick and then still get the same amount that you would have gotten if you would have just directly traded with the second team.
But I don't think you would get the same amount if you did that, right? Like you would need. So here's the scenario that I think makes the most sense for Chicago for a double trade down type of a situation like that. You could go that route, sure, but you're devaluing that number 2 spot tremendously when Houston takes Bryce Young off the board, right? When many teams' number 1 quarterback goes off the board, that number 2 pick becomes less valuable. There's less people that are going to be vying for that, for a CJ Stroud and a Anthony Richardson, or
I guess that makes a lot of sense. Yeah,
I mean that'd be my personal opinion, but I just don't see that being a scenario where they'd be able to actually do that.
Well, then what they should do is trade. I don't know. Who could they trade with then? Indianapolis first?
Yeah, that's where it's kind of interesting, because you have 2 division rivals that are right near to each other that both need quarterbacks. So I think that's why people are predicting that Houston gives up whatever they need just to move up 1 spot, because they're making sure that their division rival doesn't jump them for their preferred quarterback.
And they have more assets to be able to do that.
But then Indy has to move next. They have to move to 2. They got to start because they're not going to want the Panthers to move into the 3 or the 2 and get ahead of them. So they have to move.
If I'm a betting man right now, I would say come April 27th, the first night of the draft, I think the Houston Texans are going to have the number 1 overall pick. And I think the Indianapolis Colts are going to have number 2.
I agree.
And then if Chicago is sitting at number 4, they might still trade back.
That's how you get to 9.
yeah. I mean, dude, they might just make their way down the board. And man, that would be an unprecedented. Yeah, that would be an unprecedented scenario. A team that has their quarterback, they have a ton of cap space. Now you're going to bulk up on multiple 1st-round picks for years in the future. Like, there's no reason why the Bears in a couple of years shouldn't be a super team
and have as much cap room. I didn't know if you mentioned that. And on top of that,
the cap room,
they would still get a top 10 pick talent.
That's the thing is like they would be trading back, get so many assets in doing so. Like here's the thing: if they were to not win a championship in the next 5 years after doing that, there needs to be just a complete overhaul of everything because there's just no reason that they should have any trouble finding success in the league with that type of assets coming their way.
This is how you draw it up. Almost, if you are a GM and you could have your ideal situation is have a guy that you think is a quarterback, right? Is that could be Jalen Hurts and Justin Fields. You still have him on his rookie deal. You acquire a ton of fucking picks for the future. You have a ton of money. You have like brand new GM. I think it's a new GM. I don't know if they're in the second year of their coach. Yeah.
Yeah, they have a former player. I think Eric Poole. He was a former offensive lineman.
This is like what we all would wish for if we were in the rebuild mode. Or like, this is ideal. And an interesting, I never knew this. I saw this. This is from Peter King. That I thought you could only trade 3 years in advance. I guess you can 20 right now. You can trade 23, 24, and 25. But on draft day, because you're in a new year, I don't know why, you can actually trade 23, 24, 25, and 26 first round picks. So like what what if Chicago got
kind of terrifying, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like straight up. Like God, if David Tepper is as desperate for a quarterback as we all think he is, oh boy, y'all better strap up and buckle in, folks. It's gonna be a bumpy ride. I don't know. I guess this is why you hope a deal is worked out. If the Panthers do move up, you hope that there's a deal coming soon. You know, because if we're waiting, we ain't giving up a.
I mean, I think debating 3 first round picks is just on its own is a big weight on an organization. But it's not going to be just 3 first round picks. It's going to be some 2s and some 4s and some. So it's going to be more than that. But I'm nervous with 3. Like I said at the beginning of the show, this offseason has a certain anxiety accompanying it. So I want to hear from some fans on this, Cody. I'm going to take a couple of cat calls because I know that they will have a lot to say about this quarterback situation, the combine, and the draft, what the Panthers should do. Give us a call at 252-228-5098. We'll get you on the show. And let's see what people got to say about all of this that we're talking about.
We're absolutely going to jump into some cat calls. Real quick with some fantastic donators to the show. Just don't care with the $5. Appreciate you. Just don't care. And White Chocolate Espresso with the $4.99 love bombs. There's never another quarterback who had below 55% completion percentage who improved it to 60 or above in the NFL, not named Josh Allen. So he's talking about Anthony Richardson right there and how much of a risk it might be for him. But yeah, listen, Tony, you already said, let's jump into the cat calls. Let's see what Panther fans have to say at 252-228-5098.
So what are your thoughts on catcalling?
Yeah, it's pretty. You shouldn't do that to somebody.
And how did that make you feel?
Very uncomfortable.
So how do you think catcalling makes the person feel?
It feels good, like.
Who's that cat sitting in the back corner with his face buried in his nose? Who's that kid that can use one?
Not hear anything, Tony.
Oh, you can't hear it? Motherfucker, every week.
Hey, it's your boy Juan. Connie, just want to ask you
What's up, Juan?
What do you guys think will happen now with Derek Carr playing the Jets and us, the Panthers, and picking the Saints to go to play this season? And with the rumor that Lamar Jackson was tagged today, didn't know if he was, but I found he was later on in the evening. So what's the plans now to go forward the draft? Do we draft up like trade up, get a quarterback, or do we wait see if the quarterback falls to us, or do we wait in the draft whatever we need at first, and then draft a quarterback later on with some other quarterbacks laying in the draft, like Adrian from Purdue, the guy from Tennessee, Stanford. What do y'all think the Panthers should do with a nice pick? Or do y'all believe in a trade up for a quarterback? I'm just trying to say my guess, but I don't know what do y'all feel like. What do y'all feel like the team should do, and why? And thank you. You have a good evening, and keep pounding, Panther Nation.
God,
Keep pounding.
what a
Great
call,
call,
man.
Jose.
what a call.
Fantastic. Yeah, and Jose, that's kind of what we were all just talking about. You know, every option is open. There's a lot of anxiety surrounding this because we really could do anything. Like, if the Panthers don't get their quarterback, let's say the top 4 all go before the Falcons.
No
pick.
trade up. Say no trade up.
Then there's no trade up. Then you literally are forced to just either go best player available or trade down a little bit.
That's what they'll do. They'll go BPA. They'll go BPA.
I mean, in that scenario,
They're going to say the same thing that we got pitched the year we passed on Justin Fields, except for this wouldn't be a passing moment, right? But it would be like, well, if the quarterback was there, we were going to take him, but we saw a way to get add a top 10 player or a top 5 player to our team.
Yeah.
And the other, though, is that he threaded the needle through 3 conversations, right? From should we take a quarterback, which I think will require trading up? Should we kind of punt it in that BPA and maybe even take a flyer on a Hendon Hooker, right? That is an option. And then maybe the most radical option could be, he mentioned the Lamar Jackson today, was he was given the franchise tag, but it was the non-exclusive franchise tag, which allows someone else to make a deal to him. And if he accepts it, that they then have to provide 2 first-round picks in compensation to the Ravens. So at the very minimum, the Ravens are going to either re-sign Lamar Jackson or receive 2 first-round picks for him.
Yeah, so let's delve into this, man, because this has been a very hot button issue on Twitter all day long. And to be honest, boys, I think this is going to be a very hot button topic from now going into the start of the NFL season. It now seems that there could be a scenario where Lamar Jackson would end up holding out. There's so much to go through. Let's break it down. So today, Kimberly Martin puts out, the Ravens have placed a non-exclusive franchise tag on Lamar Jackson. This means other teams are allowed to speak to him and talk to him. And if they make him a deal, the Ravens are allowed to match that offer. If they don't, then they would get 2 first-round picks for Lamar Jackson. Very swiftly after this news comes out, literally a domino effect happens where a bunch of teams come out publicly and basically say that they are not in the running for Lamar Jackson, including your very own Carolina Panthers via Josina Anderson saying the Panthers are not in the market for Lamar Jackson. Well, then right after this, pretty much all of the teams listed here put out a something on Twitter saying that they were not interested in Lamar Jackson. This includes the Dolphins, the Falcons, the Commanders, the Raiders. Everybody pretty much just unanimously kind of jumped out on this situation. Now, before we jump into it, because listen, we're going to talk about collusion because that's what everyone's talking about right now. I do want to point this out before we jump into it. The Panthers and essentially everyone else in the NFC South, they were not willing to guarantee the 3rd and 4th year of Deshaun Watson's contract here in Carolina. So I do think that's an important part of the conversation when talking about all this. But now this is from JPA Football Rumors. There's constant concern amongst the NFLPA that there's collusion amongst the NFL teams to make sure there isn't another contract given out like Deshaun Watson. until another player gets a fully guaranteed deal similar to Watson, these rumors will continue to persist. J.J. Watt himself chiming in on the situation. He says, why are all of these teams so publicly out on Lamar Jackson, an MVP winner in his prime at the most important position in the entire NFL? What am I missing here? Will Kunkel of Fox, the Panthers reporter for Fox, says NFL teams are pushing back against the fully guaranteed contract the Browns gave Deshaun Watson. Owners and GMs don't want their roster potentially sunk by one guy. Lamar Jackson has missed 10 games through the last 2 seasons. All it takes is one team to sign him, though. So, yeah, I mean, basically, a lot of people are saying that the NFL owners have all called each other up and said, hey, no one is going to pay Lamar the guaranteed money that he is asking for, because then that sets a precedent that all these other NFL owners don't want to adhere to. They don't want to continue to pay Joe Burrow all the guaranteed money and Justin Herbert all the guaranteed money and Jalen Hurts. So there is now a precedent where these NFL owners essentially don't, they don't want to pay that type of money. But my question to all of you and to everyone in the chat room is, how much does it matter that Lamar Jackson the entire time has been negotiating this? His mom is his agent. His mom has been helping him negotiate the largest quarterback money contract in the NFL. It just seems like if you're Lamar during such an important time for not only yourself, but setting a precedent for other NFL quarterbacks,
right,
why would you not want to have a trusted agent be on your side, helping you navigate all these waters? Because I'm going to be real with y'all. I think if Jackson had a real agent this entire time, they would have explained to him by now that even the Browns didn't want to pay all that guaranteed money to Deshaun Watson. And now there's already reports coming out that the Browns have ways to restructure Deshaun's contract so that way the salary cap isn't that much next year. I don't know, man. I mean, I don't know if the NFL owners are like calling each other up, telling them, hey, no one's going to pay Lamar, because all the reports were Atlanta was in love with him and that they had made headway at the combine to facilitate a trade. But now all of a sudden they're saying they're collusion. The NFL owners don't want Lamar to get paid. That's why the Ravens put the non-exclusive tag on. There's a lot to dissect, boys. Which one of y'all wants to jump in on this first?
I'm happy to. Listen, this is not collusion. This is just the NFL doing what it always wants to do, and that is to not pay guys guaranteed money. Like the idea that you want to use Deshaun Watson's contract as a springboard to say that you deserve that type of money is like one of the worst arguments you can have, because in hindsight, that contract right now looks like one of the worst decisions that the Browns could have made. Right now, that's what it looks like. Right? You cannot use the Deshaun Watson argument. You can't even use us being in the Deshaun Watson sweepstakes as an argument as to why we shouldn't be out that quickly. Because we were out on Deshaun Watson because we didn't want to pay him the guaranteed money. There's a precedent that has been created by NFL teams and NFL owners that you don't pay guaranteed contracts like that. Deshaun Watson was an outlier. You don't base your entire contract negotiations off of a guy like that who went to one of the most desperate teams for a quarterback after they just completely spit on the guy who at that time had taken them to the playoffs, at least for the first time in a while, and won a playoff game in a long time, right? I do not believe that this is a collusion situation, right? Do I believe that this is probably the NFL owners probably all having the same mindset about what this contract? Yes, I believe they all have a very similar mindset. But I don't think that this is anything that has to do with we don't want to pay Lamar Jackson guaranteed money. Me and Cody were talking about it in pre-show, right? In our little pre-show chat. it makes no sense for the Ravens to do that, right? Because the Ravens are going to come out on top in one way or another here. Either they're going to get Lamar Jackson or they're getting 2 first-round draft picks from somebody, right? They want this to work. They want Lamar Jackson to either negotiate or not, right? And it's not a matter of not wanting to pay him the guaranteed money. They win either way, and another team is going to be worse for it. In one way or another team is going to be worse for it. And so I'm not prepared to put that type of an offer down and give away 2 first-round draft picks for a guy who, and let's be real about it, I'm not even going to say his injury history now, but the history of mobile quarterbacks in the NFL does not bode well for the longevity of his career. Tell me that I'm wrong in the chat and tell me what quarterback had a really long career, and tell me more than just 1 or 2 or 3, right? Because it's got to be a pattern. Otherwise, it's an exception, and you can't bank on the exception at this point in time.
Well, and also, like, I won't be long, Tony. I'll pass the mic to you. White Chocolate Espresso, he was in Twitter Spaces earlier, and he was trying to make some very sensible points. And, of course, everybody shamed him all up and down. But he was trying to say Lamar has missed he's only played 12 games the past 2 years in a row. So that's a reason to give people some trepidation. He has a 1-3 record in the playoffs. And on top of that, you're asking for all the guaranteed money, like literally the most guaranteed money that a quarterback has ever asked for. I just think it's a little off base to say, oh, this is definitely a concerted effort behind all the owners. I really don't even believe that, because you're going to tell me that Atlanta, that if they had, let's say they wanted to give up 3 first-round picks, like they easily could, and they would, to get Lamar Jackson. But what every owner just came together and said, nah, no one's going to pay him. I mean, maybe, listen, I certainly don't know what goes on behind closed doors, but I just think that there's a lot more to this situation that isn't being discussed, specifically around Lamar not having an agent. Bobby Wagner a couple of years ago didn't have an agent. He made a deal for himself, but quarterback is a lot different.
Okung represented himself,
Yeah.
and I think he got a fully guaranteed contract when he signed with the Chargers. Somebody needs to look that up.
The difference here is that we're talking about the most guaranteed money in the history of the NFL. Okay. And that's where I think the discussion has to be held here. You cannot, again, this idea that people are going to be using, he was already guaranteed by the Ravens. They had given him an offer, and this is something that Lamar himself had confirmed. He was already given an offer that had him more guaranteed money than Kyler Murray was, right? You just cannot use the Deshaun Watson situation. Number one, again, the idea of the mobile quarterback in the NFL. It's not saying that he can't be successful, but the idea that if you want to compare apples to apples, Lamar Jackson, for what he is going to be considered a top 10 quarterback with his athleticism, right? That's not going to last for the next 5 years, right? Let's be real about it. We see that decline happen pretty quickly after about 8-9 years in the league, right? Doesn't mean he's not going to be athletic, but you're going to start to see him not be the most freak athlete on the field. It's just the reality of time itself and how it works. That part out of the equation, that means he is not a top 10 quarterback in the league as far as like from a pure passer. He's a good quarterback, but he's not a top 10 quarterback. And so those are the quarterbacks that tend to last a lot longer in this league. And like a Mahomes, like a Jalen Hurts very well could be that way. But again, he's got that mobility to him that could cause him to have a shorter career. I don't know that it's worth putting that type of guarantee and paying 2 first-round draft picks. If it were a scenario where they didn't franchise tag him and then he was going to come to the Panthers, sure, let's go ahead and do that. But you guys are talking about paying him the biggest contract in the history of the NFL and giving away 2 first-round draft picks on top of that. Like, it's not logical.
I got a lot to say about this or some insight, but I want to give shout outs to some people who are supporting the podcast. P-Dubs with a $20 Love Bomb said C3 is best Panther community around. My favorite podcast, period. We thank you for your support. And we got Coach P with €5. I believe that's euros. Trade up F. Lamar and his injuries. Sim pick 939, 1/4, a 24 number one, and 25 for the number one pick in CJ Stroud. Bet the farm on CJ Stroud there. We thank you for your support. All the people in the chat, appreciate your comments that we are continuing to cycle through. Call into the show at 252-228-5098. I'm fascinated by this story with Lamar Jackson. One is it's collusion, but it's not legal collusion. It's not criminal collusion, right? It's market manipulation. And in a way that here is the thing is that it's actually not Lamar Jackson. And I would argue not even the unprecedented amount of money. I think it is the giving of a fully guaranteed contract just in general is a threat to the ownership of the NFL. A couple of reasons. One, we could point to the escrow account. They got to put all that money. It ties these guys up. Some of these owners would have trouble just doing this. And that is, some people want to alter the rule and different things, but regardless, that's one aspect. That's short term. I think part of it has to do with the actual position too, that it's a quarterback position, because they have so much leverage and importance to your team already. That also, it's like the NFL owners know if they go and give a superstar a fully guaranteed deal like that here's what would happen. Think of like the kind of fast forward this in 3 years. Fast forward this to year 3, and Lamar Jackson is great. He's been slaying it. You think as every new quarterback has signed a deal, and now has leapfrogged him in 3 years for yearly earnings. You remember Aaron Rodgers had a clause in his contract, or at least advocated for one, that every time a quarterback got paid more than him, they got to renegotiate. So I think this is that if you're Lamar, you could sit out too by that point. In fact, I wonder what the guaranteed money is if you sit out. Like, do you have to forfeit those? Do you only forfeit your salary? And it gives you if I was Lamar and I was really good, I would say, hey, like, let's talk. So not only are you paying the bag in an unprecedented way, you're also setting yourself, if it works out, to like continue to be ransomed in a way, where at least gives him the more control in the negotiating part. The other thing too is that what if he gets hurt? You still got to pay him anyway. That's why he wants the deal. So what this does is this creates a precedent for the NFL that would equal long-term the owners lessening control of the negotiation part. They might not lose all the leverage, but they're losing some aspect of it.
Sure.
The other thing I wanted to mention is I think the reason I think it's brilliant for Lamar not to have this agent. I know people are saying this Lamar is should be viewed as like a revolutionary could be a sacrifice for player rights. And if this works, it's going to take something like him and somebody like an outsider to get this deal done, because an agent will say this is Lamar, this is getting risky. There's a $200 million on the table here. And that agent also knows that he's going to have a relationship with that team. Like if that agent is a super dick in 10 years from now, he's going to have a worse relationship with people who are in the league far past Lamar Jackson. So I think an agent is that this might not be the wisest move, but it definitely is the move that you have to make, I think, if you're really going to break the mold. And that's what Lamar Jackson's trying to do. So it's kind of like, who do you want to champion in this moment? Do you want to champion the players, go into more of like NBA type models or, MLB? Like it's going to be a league that moves in that direction? Or are you cheering for kind of the parity that exists in the NFL because we're able to slightly abuse these players because you're the billionaire who has the leverage, right? So do you want to give up leverage? And I would say, I don't know what the best answer is and what would make for the best product for me. But this would be I don't think the owners are together. Legal collusion means they have made form like agreements, like they have spoken. I bet you if they just have said, and they've said this for the last 20 years, is guaranteed contracts are not good for the ownership. So that's not new. So, I mean, that's why they're all saying it. It's like, oh, I heard he want fully guaranteed. We don't want it. Why would they?
Right. So do you think that this is just okay? So do you think that it's collusion, or this is just common knowledge that the NFL owners, like, they didn't even have to call one another? It's like, oh, you want
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's the latter.
Yeah,
it's the latter. It's because the guaranteed deal, and the owners know this too, is because they are ultimately, strangely in this case, the consumer, because they're the one that's buying the product. They're buying the player, the contract. What's the only way to really fight inflation? You can mess with the interest rates with the Fed, but that only helps big ticket items. The only way to really truly lower prices for the long term is to reduce consumption. And they see this is only just going to add to the inflationary spiral. And they're trying, in some ways, I feel like, deflate player contracts rather than letting them get bloatier.
Let me ask you a question. How many fully guaranteed contracts have been signed by quarterbacks in the NFL?
Cousins had a 2-year one.
Was it?
Yeah.
Was it fully guaranteed? I'm pretty sure,
but it was short. It was short. It was 2 years. But he said he bet on himself. And that's the other thing, is that what happens if he gets to the 5 years?
Well, here's where my point is going to be. Number one, a contract like Deshaun's. Let's maybe go about it this way. How many times has a quarterback reset a market and had it fully guaranteed?
I mean, I think they've built in the franchise tag to prevent them from doing that. I think that's the whole thing, is that Deshaun Watson.
Right, that'd be the only
Deshaun
time.
Watson, Kirk Cousins. And I mean, Kirk Cousins was getting paid more than Aaron Rodgers in those years. But those are the only fully guaranteed ones I know, other than like maybe 1-year deals for vets or something that are smaller.
Can you say that collusion is something that is happening if it's shown history that the NFL owners do not pay out guaranteed contracts?
Right.
Like, if that is a proven history of the NFL, you cannot make an argument of collusion. You can make an argument of it should be guaranteed contracts that they give out. They should be willing to pay Lamar, but you cannot say collusion. Like, you cannot put that.
But this collusion in general, Cody, is it's collusion. It's general collusion, but it's not legal collusion against the rules. If you look at the rule book, what it says is that they can't organize against a single player. In this case, it feels like that's what they're doing. But I think the owners are truly trying to organize against guaranteed contracts. And they don't need to ask each other. They're like, hey, we all know this is bad for us and good for the players.
They don't have to ask each other. This is what I'll say, just to kind of play devil's advocate, right? Like, listen, I don't know for a fact that they're not colluding against Lamar. I don't know that because I can't know that. Truly, none of us can actually 100% know that. But at the same time, I just feel like there are so many people that are so completely dismissive of all of the other factors that go into this conversation that are completely irrelevant. That
he's also a risky player. You're right.
That talk about his health, that talk about the games played over the last 2 years, that talk about his record in the playoffs, and then talk about the amount of guaranteed money that he wants. It's like, to me, those are also important factors in talking about this. Again, do I know personally if they colluded? No. How the hell would I know? But based on what I'm looking at and what CK Antonio was saying, it's like the NFL, especially in comparison with the NBA and MLB, like they're not down for the guaranteed contract.
That's not their thing, bro.
Yeah, and I think they're gonna let hell ice over before they let that become the commonplace. So I do understand how it's now a war of Lamar Jackson and the NFLPA literally battling and fighting tooth for nail to try and get guaranteed money in the NFL amongst these contracts. And literally a group of 32 owners that are like,
it doesn't benefit them. It just doesn't benefit them. And the thing, that's why I think not having an agent is the only way for Lamar actually to pull this off, is because an agent is going to say, man, like, look, they have a point that you have not been available the whole time. Right. So it's like inherently risky even on its own. And then that it's also going against everything that they kind of personally that will benefit the NFL. So it's a very interesting and fascinating saga. We probably should.
You bring up, Tony, that I think is something that I hadn't even really thought about, is the idea that if he's setting the precedent now that he wants that type of money, like when somebody else gets paid more, is he going to be that person who is saying, well, I deserve to get paid what he's getting paid?
Aaron Rodgers became that guy.
Aaron Rodgers did, right?
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, Aaron Rodgers has done a lot more miraculous things, right? In his entirety of career, right? It's not fair to compare the two because Lamar hasn't had an opportunity to have a career like Aaron Rodgers has. However, that is something that you could see take place. I think that he's a great quarterback, and I would love to have him as a Carolina Panther. I just don't want to have him as a Carolina Panther and pay him that type of money and give away 2 first-round draft picks. I think that's just absolutely unreasonable.
It's unsettling.
It's unsettling. And unreasonable. It's really not a reasonable thing to ask a friend. Let me put it this way: to say that that the owners are almost required to go after these guys and pay them this type of money is the thing that I'm not prepared to say. Right? These guys can make the choice they want. Right? If Lamar Jackson is not on if that's not on the agenda for them, if these guys have fallen in love with these guys in the draft, why not go after a guy who isn't going to cost you $240 million guaranteed right out of the gate? Right? Go after a guy who you believe in the draft that is going to, you might have to give up some draft capital, but you're not going to have to pay that guaranteed contract to him.
I'm going to play the next call. And as you listen to the call, I also want you to think about one question for me. And that is whether this is all of those things that we just talked about or not. Would you want the Panthers to do it? Should the Panthers do it? And what would it do to the Panthers, like immediately and in the long term? Kind of, should the Panthers do this? And I think that's the way to really answer is whether or not this is fair or not. I don't know if we can really control or even, figure out. But you can ask this is, do you think it would be good for the Panthers to do what he's asking? So let's go to the next call, 252-228-5098.
Yo, it's your boy, Juan Conde. I just want to say the Carolina Panthers.
I think we already heard that one. Here we go.
Hey, Cody, Tony, and the voice. I think we should go get Lamar for 2 first rounds, and then we just got to pay him. The Ravens ain't going to match it, and the man has the money. We have cap space. I mean, we could trade Burns, maybe, free up some space, and then we'd be good. And we can draft some deep, and then this is where Fitterer makes his money at. This is where Fitterer makes his money. Just has to go draft good, and we'll be all right. We can pay them. We can pay him.
I think he brings up a good point. Is like, while we get the anxiety that comes with this, is like really in the reality of things, are we just kind of scared to make a big ticket purchase? And yeah, you give up the first round picks, but you have a guy that you can add pieces around and immediately try to be the top dog in your division and a contender year in and year out if he's healthy for the playoffs. And does it cost more for us to actually trade up to 1 than it would for us to acquire Lamar Jackson?
Yeah, on that front, I would say yes, just because it's with the type of tag that they put on him, it's 2 first-round picks. So if you might be looking at 3 first-round picks for the Panthers to be able to move up in the draft. So probably a little more, but overall, the amount of money that we would be giving to Lamar, that would be far more expensive.
So
And
you
by
think
the way,
the money in the hand right now would be more costly to the organization?
Yeah, and by the way, right now the Browns. I mean, people were putting this out today. I can find the tweet. They have multiple different ways that Deshaun and them agreed upon that they put in the contract that allows them to restructure to be able to sign more players. He has something like a $54 million cap hit guaranteed every year going forward. And they're already.
Well, that means the only way to restructure, is to just move the money to different years. So that really is just basically puts them on the treadmill of what the Saints are. I mean, it's like that's how they operate. They operate on that. Just keep moving money around from credit card to credit card, and make your payments, and you'll be fine as long as you don't get sick. Right? Let's go with one more call.
What's up, C3? It's Tyler here. It's been a minute since I've called. Life's been crazy.
Tyler.
Business and all this stuff, starting my own business. So I've been away from you guys for a few weeks. So hope you guys are doing well. Been catching up on YouTube to catch up on things that you guys are doing on there. So I appreciate all the content. But got you on Twitter and saw that you guys are going to be on today, and just leaving work, so I wanted to catch you guys, say hello. But so I haven't really listened to what you guys want to do or hope we do or don't want the Panthers to do. But just kind of give you my sense of what I would like us to do, what I'm okay with us doing, and what I don't want us to do. So ideally, I want CJ Stroud. I've been ever since the end of the year for the Panthers, the last season. I've been wanting CJ Stroud. Just watching his tape, watching his games. I really think the guy is going to be Joe Burrow. I really do. I think Bryce Young can be a Drew Brees, and I really think Bryce Young is going to be successful as long as he doesn't get injured. I think it's not about if he's going to be successful. It's just can he stay healthy. Now, us moving up in the draft, I'm okay with it as long as it's one of those players, preferably CJ Stroud. But I also believe that CJ Stroud and Bryce Young are going to be picked 1 and 2. Okay, I really do. And if that's the case, if they picked up 1 and 2, I don't want us moving up in the draft for pick number 3 or pick number 5 to pick up Will Levis or Anthony Richardson. I don't think that they're worth trading the assets to go get a guy like that. Now, people get overhyped after the combine and they forget what they see on tape, and then they're like, "Well, let's go get this guy. This guy's like a Cam Newton or Lamar Jackson." I'm okay with us doing it if the coaching staff and they really have a strong conviction on the guy. I'm not the one doing this full time, right? I'm not going to pretend that I do. Off of tape and watching, can Anthony Richardson be the guy? Yeah, he could. Could Will Levis be the guy? Maybe he could. But is it worth trading multiple ones for a guy that could? I really, truly believe that CJ Stroud is. So I'm okay with just giving up a 3 and another pick, because if you have let's just say a Shaq Thompson, a J.C. Horn, Derek Brown, would you rather have those guys or would you have Joe Burrow? I'd rather have Joe Burrow. So that's my 2 cents on it. Hope you guys have a good night. Good talking to you guys. Look forward to keep listening to you throughout the offseason. Have a good one. Keep pounding.
Keep pounding. Fantastic call, man. Dude, I echo so many of the same sentiments about CJ Stroud. Listen, I pretty much resigned myself to the fact that if the Panthers aren't going to move up, dude, it's going to be crazy expensive. It just is. That's just the nature of it, man. Like, especially knowing how many quarterback needy teams are in front of us. Like, there's just almost no way possible now that the Panthers are going to have one of their preferred quarterbacks fall to them. Like, if you draft Anthony Richardson or Will Levis It's a project. You have to get them ready and prepared to make NFL timing and accurate throws, throwing with better touch. They both have arm talent. And when you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail. So they'll throw fastballs at times when it's just not necessary. Whereas Bryce Young and CJ Stroud, as of right now, seem like much more developed throwers of the football. So, yeah, I agree with you. I do think they're going to have to go to either one or two to get their preferred guy. And yeah, that's going to be really expensive. None of the options right now for the Carolina Panthers to get their quarterback are cheap. Literally none of them. And if you do, everyone's going to be pissed off at this football team. You know what I mean? Nobody wants to, entertain just Sam Darnold and Matt Corral next year. Even though I think Matt Corral can be a damn good quarterback, I'll spare you on my diatribe. The Panthers have to do something to really upgrade the quarterback position this year. And it's going to be expensive. That's just flat out. Lamar is going to be expensive. If that's the way that we went, which it doesn't look like we are, the draft is going to be expensive. But I do agree with you. If I'm going to have to give up that amount of draft capital, yeah, it's going to be for CJ Stroud.
I think if we got CJ Stroud, I would have the most future optimism. Like I'm investing in the stock market, right? It's just going to go up every year. It's like, oh, it might not be a bonanza each week or each year, but our investment in 5 years should be worth more than it is today.
Right.
There would be some anxiety that accompanied how much you'd have to give to get that number one pick. So that would also be like, man, this actually, this is a blue chip stock. It better work. I hope this isn't GE. Right. And then what I would say is Lamar would give me the most immediate excitement and expectation. And I think he would actually be cheaper for the Panthers if it worked in the end. I know that's kind of strange, is that it would have to just hit a home run with him. But there is the anxiety that accompanies that he could potentially face some injuries. I wonder if that narrative is are we forgetting that he kind of almost, some people question if he intentionally sat out some of those games, like feigned his illness a little bit, his injury, and just said, man, I'm not ready to come back and risk it on top of that where I'm already at. Lamar.
Oh, Lamar.
Remember, because there was some discussion about whether he could go. And he was like, look, we're not in the playoffs. It's like, I'm not getting paid. My ankle hurts. I'm not sucking it up. There was some I don't know what the right answer to the thing is, but then that goes back to what we were talking about earlier, CK, is like he is willing to advocate for himself.
Right.
And I don't want to be critical of somebody that advocates. I mean, he should be advocating for himself. But then you have that kind of that thing that comes with it. I think the one that I would be the least happy with having to settle for a Levis and not knowing if I should believe in him, or having the anxiety of, I hope this Richardson guy is Lamar in 2 years.
Yeah. Here's the last thing I'll say with regard to the Lamar thing. I completely get betting on yourself. I really do. I 100% understand that. I also understand an agent's job is to give you a realistic viewpoint of what to expect. And I think that the idea that not having an agent and asking for a fully guaranteed contract with not having the ability for the team to have any negotiations from a clause perspective or any of this, things that we don't know aren't the case or are the case, it's going to make this next to impossible for any team. That you've got to keep in mind, this isn't as simple as pay Lamar his money. It's pay Lamar his money. He doesn't have an agent. He's out there. He's wanting like what Lamar wants to have happen, and it just can't happen. At least this is what I gather from the circumstances. Lamar wants to sign a contract that says we're going to pay you this much money, and that is it. He wants it to be a one-line contract.
Yeah,
and you just don't do that in the NFL. Like,
well, you don't do that because you don't want to do that, right? And he's trying to break the system. It's actually like it's just crazy because he does have those kind of the wild card aspect of his game being not reliant, but what makes him special is the super athleticism. And that also makes him inherently a little bit more risky. It's like why insurance on a sports car is more than insurance on a Toyota Corolla.
Sure.
Right. And so he has that accompanying thing there. But that's exactly what he wants. He wants the one. And I think that's the thing is the agent, like it is collusion, but it's a systematic collusion. It's like the agents are going to benefit. Who they're going to make more money off of in the next 10 years, Lamar or the NFL. So they have a vested interest to be.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't even think of it that way.
They say they want to put their clients' interest first.
No,
and entirely, but I can't believe that you do that in a Sherman type way where you have to scorch. It's like scorched earth policy to get the most every time.
Right.
Like I would be like, oh God, I got to deal with this fucking agent again.
You've got to keep in mind, like, I think you're looking at it a little backwards on that though, Tony. Like the agents make their money off of the players. Now, the NFL, like he needs to stay in the NFL realm of things, but he wants to make his money off of showing that he can get his clients paid, and that's going to bring him more clients in the future. It's not the NFL bringing him more clients. It's his reputation of getting the highest dollar out of the NFL and out of these so I don't think that his relationship with the NFL has anything to do with it.
But doesn't him having a positive relationship with a bunch of different teams help all of his mid-level clients more? Right?
Maybe
is like, of course,
but
like you can do that with, I can get you this, but like, hey man, I'm representing Damian Wilson or whatever that guy that just got cut for the Carolina Panthers. I know 3 or 4 teams that I've worked with in the past. We've been able to hash out some pretty friendly deals for them and helpful to the player. I can get you a job. I think that you know what? The agents are looking out for the agents. The owners are looking out for the owners. And Lamar is looking out for Lamar. And you know what? Man, everybody else does it. I hope it works for him.
Can I give y'all my final prediction? I don't think we're going to be done talking about this shit anytime soon. It doesn't surprise me.
I kind of want him. I would be like, let's roll.
It doesn't surprise me if we're talking about a Lamar Jackson holdout with the Ravens next year.
Oh, I agree.
I agree.
100.
I think you're 100% right on that. And I think what's going to be interesting is whatever the only thing that teams are going to be willing to pay, in my opinion, Lamar Jackson are going to be what the Ravens have already offered him. And even if they go slightly above that, I think the Ravens will match it. I don't think if I had to put if I'm being honest with you,
say it one more
Ravens, time. Because the whole way that this thing works with the non-exclusive tender is the Ravens have the right to basically first right to refuse, right? He's got the tag number. If a team wants to come in and negotiate and they are able to make an offer to Lamar that he would like to accept, he has to bring that back to the Ravens, and the Ravens have to say yes or no to that. If they say no to that, then the other team has to now pay Lamar Jackson that contract and give away 2 first-round draft picks, right? So my point being is there's not a team that's going to give Lamar Jackson everything he's asking for, right? It's just not. Again, the Browns
brilliant by the Ravens, to be honest.
Right, that's what I was telling Cody. I said at the end of the day, the Ravens are playing chess when Lamar Jackson, unfortunately, is playing checkers.
Or they're just playing the game the best they can, and Lamar's trying to play it the best he can. But
exactly. Well, my point being is like they know, number one, that now we've got all these reports that these teams aren't interested. Well, now we know that
they're softening them up. They're attacking the soft underbelly.
Lamar isn't going to get the money that he thinks he was going to get on the free market. Like that's where he was thinking his money was going to come from. Is like the Ravens are going to pay me because they don't want me hitting the market because somebody will pay me this money, right? Nobody is doing that, right? And so that value for Lamar is starting to really trickle down. Like his value,
because they're still mad at the Browns for doing it.
Exactly. The Browns, you cannot use that. The only team that would have paid him the money that they're talking about is the Browns, and they just did that already.
Well, they made every owner mad with that deal, and
it's just not reasonable. Like the Ravens.
Well, it's reasonable. It's just like it's reasonable. It's just they don't want it to work like that.
I don't know if it's reasonable. Like, I mean, I listen. I know other things, other
MLB,
organizations.
man, the MLB makes, dude, they pay fully guaranteed contracts, and they're like crazy. They're like 400 million over, but they are like 10 years and stuff. But
and how many players are on their team?
Well, 9. I mean, what? Yeah, 9. I mean, 9 in the bat.
How many are on the NFL squad?
A lot more.
Right. Like, we're not talking about, it's not apples to apples. Everybody wants to compare different sports to the other sports. It's not that way. We don't live in that world. The NFL is a completely different.
So what you're saying is you should encourage your kids to play basketball or baseball.
No. That means you have less chance to make it on those teams because there's only 10 people on a basketball squad, right? There's 53 people on an NFL squad. You have a better shot of making it to the NFL, in my opinion, if you have the body type.
Just be a kicker, folks. Just have the balls to be a kicker.
Go punt. Go be a place kicker or a placeholder. Whatever you need to do. Like, just avoid the hits as much as possible. But no, I love Lamar. I want him to get paid. I really do. I'm just not, as a Panthers fan, I'm not prepared to give him the contract that he's wanting. And pay the draft capital we're talking about, because that's gonna, I'll be honest with you guys, the reality of what we're dealing with right now is something that I was telling Cody. I don't recall, and again, you guys can point me out if I'm wrong, I don't personally recall any team trading, number one, let's be honest, trading up in the draft and giving away multiple first round picks and being a better team overall. I don't know that I've seen a team trade multiple draft picks for a guy. What's that?
Did the Bills do it?
Well, for Allen?
Yeah.
No, but he wasn't a top. He wasn't a top 5.
Draft.
I'm talking about like trading like multiple years, like 3 years of first round draft picks up to get to like number 1, right? No team has ever done that and come away feeling
Who was
better.
the last team that moved to
Well, remember when the Rams in Philadelphia, that was the year Jared Goff went number 1 and Carson Wentz number 2. Yeah,
Philly gave up a lot to get the 2.
Yeah, and I forget where the Rams were picking, but the Rams moved up to number 1 and they picked Jared Goff number 1.
Oh, they moved to 1, the Rams?
Yeah, the Rams moved.
What did they give away?
1.
I can't remember what they had given away for Goff.
I would have to look it up. I know the Tennessee Titans
go ahead and look.
number 1, and in the early mock drafts, they thought that Laramie Tunsil was going to the Titans.
But here's my question. Here's my point with this. The Rams moved up. They made a Super Bowl. Do you feel like they were better because Goff was their guy? Do you feel like they would have been better off not to giving away? However, I don't even know how many first round draft picks they had given away.
Who did they have before?
I don't know. See, that's tough though, because they did go to the Super Bowl.
It didn't cripple them. It didn't cripple them at the very least.
They've been a bigger.
They made it to a Super Bowl, and they've been a contender in the aftermath. Yeah,
they've contended more than us. I mean, listen, that's what kind of what you were saying earlier, Tony. Everything is anxiety inducing because nothing is easy to do. If you're going to trade draft picks, okay, that's a lot of draft picks that you're going to be trading up. And then if you don't do it, again, it's for Lamar, which is another crazy,
which has crazy risk. And I do want to mention this is that and Greg, this was inspired by Greg, but one of the emojis you get by becoming a C3 superfan is the tinfoil hat emoji. And so if you think it's collusion, use your new emoji, the tinfoil hat, and let us know. And CK, we got to welcome in a new member. For just $1.99 a month. You can help support the podcast. And one of the things that you can do is to make this even more fun about the community. A lot of people have even bought gift memberships for other people just to continue to grow the C3 family. And this is a small way that you can continue to help us keep going each and every week. CK, welcome in, Maddie.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of C3 fandom, we have a new member of the Super Fan Club, and that is Matty316. He said, I want to be here to support C3. I want to be a part of this exclusive club. But we have one thing to say to you. Welcome to the club.
Nice. Go ahead and subscribe. We just hit over 5,000 subscribers on YouTube. We are a steady trudger like the S&P over time. 2%, 2%, 2%. We've had a great 2022, and we expect to continue that momentum this year in 2023. We added 1,900 subscribers in 2022. So thank you guys for being a part of building this community, this friendship. Let's go to the next call.
What's up, guys? This is Chase from Anderson. I want a brief talk about the quarterback options that everybody else is talking about as well. I think the really only option is to move up and get C.J. Stroud, which is choice A, or Bryce Young, which is choice B. To me, Anthony Richardson he's watching his film and seeing his stats, man. He looks like P.J. Walker to me. He just looks like a bigger, more athletic P.J. Walker. I mean, I watched the guy play. I wish he played tight end or some other position with his athleticism. To me, Will Levis, he screams Sam Darnold. His film, his play, it screams Sam Darnold to me. I don't want to hear this Lamar Jackson talk. To get him, you're going to have to give up 2 first-round picks, which Baltimore is going to turn around and use what you give them to move up to get a quarterback. So why not just do the same thing, use the same assets, trade up to get C.J. Stroud. Plus his contract is going to cost. You can say goodbye to Brian Burns and Horn and DJ Moore and Cody with Matt Corral. He was a 3rd-round pick in a terrible, weak-ass quarterback class. Plus his injury history. He's got a nice throwing motion. He's got that for him. But, man, he just looked awful in preseason. And don't say, well, he was landing with the 4 or 5 Panthers. Yeah, but he was also playing against the 4th and 5th string or practice squad where the guys were against the teams he played in. Yeah, so do what it takes. No more kicking the quarterback can down the road. Let's do it. Let's trade up to 1 or 3 and go get C.J. Stroud. Let's do it.
Listen, I feel, Cody, I know you got to respond to this, but you said that's the same old tired argument. But that's the argument you're making too, right? It's the same old tired argument. You're saying
I'm saying if you look at Matt Corral and you actually go and look at what he did in the preseason, even most of the incompletions, they were to the right guy. They were either dropped or the timing was not on the right path between either the receiver or Matt Corral. No, dude, it's like if everybody wants to put Matt Corral being on the 4th and 5th string. Like, he looked terrible. Like, he was like the worst quarterback that you've ever seen last year. It's such a false equivalency. None of you have seen anything from Matt Corral. If people are excited, for a quarterback this year, fine, that's one thing. And you're right. This coaching staff has no connections to Matt Corral. But no one has seen anything from Matt Corral. And, a scout's assumption on what the quarterback class was last year has no bearing on whether or not any of these dudes can actually be successful in the NFL. His numbers in the SEC were better than Anthony Richardson and Will Levis. And I'm sorry, that doesn't just matter for nothing.
Sure. And that's not the argument that I think is important here, right? The argument is that he was saying that he looked bad in the preseason, right? can we agree? I know you want to make this. I went back and watched all that same stuff, and Matt Corral did not look good. And the
first game was too fast. You remember the first game, it seemed like it was like, holy shit, this is a jump. And then in the second game that he got hurt, he looked a little bit better before he got hurt, I want to say.
Well, no, I mean, he looked.
Wasn't that? Is that how it went? I can't remember.
No, it was. There wasn't a lot of positives about his. Like, there were some throws that were okay, but for the most part, it was a dumpster fire.
You're making it sound like he was just completely inaccurate.
He was, Cody. True. It was.
No,
it was
you acted like he was missing the mark 100%.
Let's see what
like looking at all of. Listen, there was a lot of incompletions. But what I'm saying is it's lazy evaluation from anyone, absolutely anyone, to say that it's only on Matt Corral and it's not on the combination of issues like timing, getting on the same page as your receivers, making sure that the receivers know when the ball is coming to them, when they're supposed to break. Like, yeah, I'm not saying Matt looked great, but there was not a scenario for Matt to even look great last year. Like, making it seem like it was all Matt Corral and that's why he didn't make any plays was just because of Matt. It's disingenuous. Like, that's not what happened.
Keep in mind, there's nobody who's saying that everything falls on him. I've been plenty willing to give the benefit of the doubt to quarterbacks. My entire argument when it comes to Matt Corral is he did not look ready for the NFL in that moment, right? It doesn't mean it can't be better. I want him to work out. I want it, if we cannot draft a quarterback because Matt Corral was the guy, I'm all for that if he turns out to be that guy. But what I don't want to do is hitch my wagon to a guy who hasn't really shown, even in the short time that he had in the preseason. I just don't know that I saw.
Yeah, but we're already past that now because, like, literally, I'm not even saying to not draft a quarterback.
Right. Well, here's
what I mean? Like,
what I'll say.
All right, look.
I want to throw this out there first real quick, Tony. This isn't even just about the preseason. I remember very distinctly during that fan fest, we went to that whole show. And one of the things afterwards, we did our show, we talked about it. I made I told everybody my feelings about what I saw from Matt Corral. In literal practice, he didn't look accurate. He was not throwing the ball very well. Like, and that's in comparison to Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold. He was all over the place. And that was something that I saw in the middle of practice. I've seen that, and now we see it happening. At least we saw that happen in the preseason. I'm just not prepared to say that I see anything in him that's special yet.
I don't want to get lost in the Matt Corral discussion too much because I like the caller so much on his other points, right? Whether I don't want that to overshadow what I think is right is like I do think I would feel best if we go up to number one. I think the pick should be CJ Stroud. I think he's right with that order of Stroud, Young, right? That's what I would do. That would create. Those would be the ones I would be most happy with in that order. I will say with the other thing is with Matt Corral is I think you both are right, Cody, in some ways, is that he didn't show any he didn't prove that he wasn't a good quarterback, but he also didn't prove that he was, right? Is so like is at the end of the day is that they're both right. Is that the argument that he went with the fours on offense holds water. It's like it was in a bad situation, difficult circumstances, but also the one that you're playing the fours holds water too. So both are accurate. He went 1 for 9 in his first game. He went, I was kind of right. It's like 1 for 9. Then he went 9 for 15 with 58 yards, really just very conservative, dumping it off in game 2.
Yeah.
Game 3, did he play?
No, he got hurt in the
And by the way, the first, I believe it was either the first or the second game that he played, he throws a deep bomb down the sideline towards the front right pylon to a receiver. And the receiver, of course, drops it. But you just know, like, if that's Terrace Marshall Jr., or DJ Moore.
Oh,
They're going up and
stop.
snagging that bitch and
No,
getting
if it was Shi Smith, it would have been 10 touchdowns.
No one said Shi Smith. I'm saying sometimes you see a good fucking pass with your own eyes when you see one. And I saw a lot of them from Matt Corral. I'm also not saying that anyone should look at Matt Corral, what he did last season, and say, oh, yeah, that's the guy. Not my argument at all. I'm saying Matt Corral was not put in a situation to look good, even if he had an abundance of talent. So anyone wanting to judge him based off of his draft stock, of where he was drafted, or a very small sample size of preseason games, and then pretend like you can close the book on Matt Corral, that's some bullshit. That's all I'm saying.
Next call.
Hey guys, it's the girl that makes him howl, aka Joey the Blind Panther. And y'all got me started on Lamar Jackson. Look, there's a reason why last year when the schedule came out and I found out that Baltimore was on it, there's a reason why I told my dad, hey, Dad, we got to get to Baltimore because Lamar Jackson is not going to be there by the next time the Panthers play in that stadium. And in addition to the fact that I was going to use going to the game in Baltimore as an excuse to visit Washington, D.C., I told him that because Lamar Jackson plays like Cam Newton. And Cam Newton didn't even last a decade. He didn't last, what? Cam Newton lasted from 2011 to 2018. Well, no, he only played 2011 to 2017, his full season. He played some in 2018, and I'm not going to count the bullshit in 2019 because, honestly, that last game of Cam Newton in 2019 was so bad that when they were showing a rerun of it at Bonefish Grill the following year, I wanted to haul off and shatter the TV into smithereens because how fucking dare they show that shit. But, yeah, Lamar Jackson has not been there when it has counted the most. Okay, Lamar Jackson is great when the games don't matter. I mean, I suppose they all matter in theory, but we all know that. We're not dumb. But he is not there when one loss sends you home. It's not that he's not good. He's not available. Why would you pay top-tier money to a guy who's not going to be able to help you in the playoffs? Who's not going to be able to take you all the way there? So that is my thing. And every loser nowadays wants to claim collusion because, that's popular now, I guess. I get it. But no, the reason Lamar Jackson didn't get paid is because he's injury prone. If he had not had the injury history that he has, if he had not been consistently injured during the postseason, he would have gotten something close to what he was asking for. Anyway, guys.
Oh, he got cut off. You know he's going to call back in. Look, we're going to go straight to the next call. I think this is going to be the opposite perspective.
Yo, what is up, C3?
What's up,
Anthony from Charlotte. Been a crazy day with NFL news and shit like that. First, I want to say that Sheena Quick's Twitter spaces are so toxic, man. Like, I'll go on there, speak my 2 cents, and then dip because it is just crazy with the amount of opinionated people there are in there just going after your heads. And I know some of the C3 boys know what I'm talking about. Long story short, I want to talk about, obviously, the crop of the crop, the main story, Lamar Jackson. Now, we've seen Tepper try to go after quarterbacks year after year. The problem with this whole thing is that Deshaun Epstein fucked this all up. The NFLPA and the owners all got together. It's so obvious. And they said, hey, if Lamar Jackson is non-exclusively franchise tagged, let's just not show interest because we are not trying to pay him that kind of money. And it sucks because Lamar Jackson, in my opinion, is a top 7 quarterback. He's in the elite category. He deserves to be paid with the no offensive support he's had. But it sucks because if he is to get paid, then it leads the way for all these other guys. And these other guys are going to get paid. Like, my problem with this is we should be interested in him. Okay? Jalen Hurts, Burrow, Herbert, guys like that are going to get paid big money. Okay? Daniel Jones just got paid $40 million a season, the same contract as Stafford and Dak. He's not as good as Stafford and Dak, but that's just how the quarterback market is going up. Mahomes, he's going to be making $45 million a season. If he was due for a contract, he'd probably get around $70 million a season. Realistically, that's just how this market is now. But they did what no one else did. They signed their franchise quarterback before anyone else thought of this. So I don't blame Lamar Jackson for wanting this kind of money. I think he deserves it. He's an MVP, and when he's on the field, he's won 74% of his games. I repeat, he's 45-16. If you're the Panthers and you're looking at this, you're like, okay, maybe we can negotiate something to where it's not $250 million guaranteed, but maybe around like $215 or $220, because in reality, it's either this. You're either going to trade up and give up 3 first-round picks, or you could just give up 2 first-round picks and get a proven commodity. That's my opinion. Anthony from Charlotte, keep pounding, C3.
Keep pounding.
What a call. Right on time. Look, it's like, great take there. I agree with that all entirely. That leads us to the Daniel Jones discussion here. Or not discussion. Good. How do we relate this to the Carolina Panthers? David Gettleman made this pick. Remember, and who did he go ahead of that? What year? What was the class that Daniel Jones was in? It better not have been Lamar's. I think it was the year after or so.
What year was that? I have to look at it. I think it was 2019.
So I don't think it was a crazy quarterback class.
It was either 18 or 19. Maybe 19?
It was Brian
I think
Burns.
it was
Saquon. It was Saquon. It's got to be 18.
No, Saquon went number 3.
It's the same year.
2.
Same year.
No, the Giants didn't have 2 picks that year.
Oh, they did.
Look it up.
I'm looking here. I got 2019.
Yeah, that's what
was Josh Allen. No, he went ahead of Josh.
No. 2018 was Baker and Josh. Was Baker Mayfield? Josh?
This was Kyler Murray. Then Daniel Jones, and then let's see who the next quarterback was taken in that draft was. Let's see, it's QB. Can search this. Oh crap, Tony! Come on, get it together. I'm trying to find who the quarterbacks were. It was Daniel Jones, Dwayne Haskins. Those were the first-round quarterbacks that year. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I was looking it up too.
Okay,
yeah,
so Daniel Jones went. That was a Dave Gettleman pick, though.
That was, and he's a big, tall dude. He's strong. He's more mobile than he gets credit for. But look, this past year was, the Giants put their own selves in a bind, because they didn't pick up his 5th-year option. Like the Panthers
should be like the comeback player of the year in a way. Like he
Panthers,
made more money than anybody. Changed their status almost as much as Geno.
Player?
Like Geno, it's got to be Geno.
Yeah, I think it was.
It was Geno. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, but listen. When it comes to Daniel Jones, like the Giants left themselves in a no-win situation. They did not pick up his 5th-year option, and they were left with either having to pay him this type of money or letting him hit the market and see what he would get. And then they would have to be in the quarterback conversation, which they don't want to do. And
I think you're just worried he turns into Kirk Cousins, like a mobile Kirk Cousins.
Which I'm not even terrified.
That's what he's like. No, man. Did you see? But they also mentioned that Dak was trying to renegotiate. How about that? I would be pissed if I was Jerry Jones and Dak coming
and
to
then
me. It's
Dak wants to renegotiate.
I'd be like,
Nah,
bro,
dude.
like we already went through this. A, we overpaid you. B, C, you weren't even that great. D, hell no, get out of my office. That's what I would say. All right, let's go to another call. The number's 252-228-5098.
What up, T3? It's P Dubs calling. I called in a couple weeks ago for the first
What
time.
up, P Dubs?
A lot's happened
Donated
since
20.
then. Derek Carr signing with the Saints. I'm glad we didn't sign him. I thought he's too expensive. I'd rather keep that cap space and work some magic in free agency. The combine was fascinating, at least as the quarterbacks go. I mean, C.J. Stroud was really, really impressive. I think he's going to be the first quarterback taken off the board. I think we probably have to go to number one to get him if that's where we want to go. Anthony Richardson was everything as advertised and maybe a little bit more, and he's going to get a lot of hype between now and the draft. But I love him as a prospect, and I really, really would be excited if we do draft him, provided we're going to let him marinate for a year or two. I think he's got to have a year or so of being coached up, which leads me to, what do we do with a quarterback in the interim? And I think we're probably going to look hard at Jacoby Brissett or maybe even re-signing Sam Darnold for a one-year deal, or maybe it's 2 years max, team friendly. We get a veteran quarterback in. I think we can win the NFC South with either of them. We'll let Richardson develop. And, oh, by the way, we get to look at Matt Corral too. And, quite frankly, having three quarterbacks on the roster and in the room isn't the worst thing, especially when two of them are on rookie contracts and could have a lot of upside. So, I don't know. That's how I'm thinking about it. I really don't want us to take Bryce Young. I happened to be on the field. I had field passes for the Arizona game this past year.
Oh, nice.
And when Kyler Murray came out of the tunnel, he was about 15 yards from me, no further than that. And he looked like a damn midget out there. I mean, you can't convince me that the size of Bryce Young and Kyler Murray isn't a major, major issue. And I know that Bryce is a more polished quarterback, but that just seems to be an asymmetric risk. And I don't know why we would want to take that on. So anyway, can't wait to hear everybody's thoughts tonight. By the way, Frank Reich is 6'4". Do you really think he wants to look down half a foot at his quarterback? I don't see there's any way in hell that we're going to draft Bryce Young. So I'm much more focused on Richardson or Stroud. Levis,
asymmetrical risk. I love that phrase. And he has 22 seconds left. Here we go.
D3, it's P-Dubs. Clearly, I talked too long. I'll try to wrap it up quick. With Levis, I'm kind of indifferent. If they love him, I'll get behind it. But I just assume take a pass on him and really focus on Richardson or Stroud. Anyway, looking forward to the podcast tonight, boys. Keep it up.
Oh, the Blind Panthers inspiring growls around Panther Nation.
Growls around town.
Shout out to P-Dubs, man. Fantastic call. Gave a $20 love bomb earlier. That's a fan right there, man.
It's a big night right there. I love that phrasing towards the end is that asymmetrical risk, like you mentioned with Bryce Young. I think that's why I gravitate towards Stroud at the very minimum,
right?
Or maximum. And then the relationship of we hope this is that if they pick Levis, we will get behind it, right? Because we don't have a choice. We will want it to work. And what we will continue to do is say this is trust in the staff that they identify and they know that they can make this work. So let's get off. This is our train now. Hitch our wagon to this horse and go cheer for it. I'll have to do that. I think if they do that for Richardson, I would be like, oh, that was interesting. They really think that this guy is going to be the Lamar. And I think that's the only thing that gives me faith in that. Like, that's what our argument's going to pivot towards. And I think with Stroud, you're going to be like this, is we bet like, oh, are we going to win with a rookie quarterback? That will be the conversation. So Levis does bring the one where Levis's compliments will come about how the coaching staff sees something. We'll have to exercise our faith there.
Well, and I said this on Twitter earlier. If you follow me on Twitter or just on this podcast, I have not been a loud endorser of Will Levis. Like I'm not in love with a lot of his film. I think he's very inconsistent in a lot of different areas. And I think he's kind of injury prone, which is kind of concerning to me.
Eats bananas with the peel on.
Yeah, and he puts mayonnaise in his coffee, dude. Super weird guy. But at the end of the day, it's like, if you fall in love with Anthony Richardson, why could you not also fall in love with Will Levis for the very same things? And also, but more specifically to what I put on Twitter, everybody's loving this new coaching staff. The offensive guys that we have.
Levis.
Yeah, until they pick Will Levis. Oh, and then he's a lost cause, and we're gonna fucking suck up and down. It's like, no, man. Like, if you trust in this team to develop their preferred guy, then trust in this team. Now, it's okay right now before the draft to have your preference and not want Will Levis. Again, I'm not very stoked on Will Levis, but no matter who the Panthers draft at quarterback, I'm going to be behind them and support them. And at least with all four of the guys, you can easily see how they would be successful in the NFL. So you can see the things that they would do that would make them the type of quarterback that you would bet on them. Richardson and Levis have the big time arm talent. They can run like hell. And then CJ Stroud and Bryce Young are elite throwers of the football.
I wonder if there's somebody who is very mathematically inclined could figure out imagine if you developed a poll that you gave out to Panther fans, like maybe daily or weekly, and it was just like feeling great, feeling terrible, okay, and you just tracked kind of public opinion. Where is that you're going to have, when does fanaticism turn into cynicism, and where does cynicism turn into fanaticism? And but look, the word fan comes from the concept of fanatic, right? And you're going to have an element is how long you have to, if you are truly, I won't say truly, I'm not a gatekeeper. Is there a world where you will, I guess, maybe you're looking for confirmation of yourself. If you say, I don't think it's going to work, so therefore you kind of hope it doesn't. But even if we get Lamar Jackson and we break the bank and we give up all of that, you know what we're all going to have to do? Not all have to do, but let's make this work. We're all going to be, you would think, rooting for it to be successful, whatever it is. So, you would be.
That's a good segue, because if we're gonna hope for success, no matter what it is, Tony, I included this in
just for
the presentation, just for you, buddy. Phillip Rivers, North Carolina legend, you played at NC State, has contacted the 49ers and Dolphins about a comeback late last season. But the Panthers are his best bet in 2023. So put your money where your mouth is. How pumped would you be for Phillip Rivers as the Panthers quarterback?
Dude, I am not a Phillip Rivers guy.
Took the wind out of your sails, huh?
I think this is Phillip Rivers is what if Teddy Bridgewater was a Hall of Famer, he would be Phillip Rivers. And that is never won a championship and can only throw 4 yards now. God, this would be a hard one for me to get behind and think it was going to work. But the only way, actually, that I would become a fan of Phillip Rivers if he came to Carolina and it worked. Other than that, I'll never root for the. I mean, and I'm Catholic. He's Catholic. I mean, I'm rooter. It's just not my dude. Not the guy that I.
You're at least you're consistent, right? You've been that way from.
Yeah, I think he's been overrated as a quarterback. And I tell you this: if you get him. I can tell you one thing I promise from you, and that is late in the fourth quarter, you're going to see him looking up at the big jumbotron after he just threw a pick. God dang it.
It'd be like, dang nabbit.
Dang dung it. Yeah,
dang
exactly.
nabbit. Son of a biscuit-eating bulldog.
Now, if he came and like took the Panthers to the playoffs or more so like the NFC Championship, then I would have to. That would be the only thing I think that's going to completely change my mind because he's never done it in the playoffs ever.
Yeah,
and
yeah, a lot of people are saying
it's just
the same
volume.
thing.
He's a volume guy. He it's kind of like a Jameis Winston without as many interceptions. Like maybe
he was also like one of the first guys, at least that I was aware of, that had a real wonky throwing motion. Like he's another
it's
guy.
Horrific, dude.
Yeah,
it looks so bad. It looks like he's left-handed.
Yeah,
and maybe is he left-handed? I don't even know.
I have
I'm
no
left-handed.
idea.
It looks it's ridiculous.
It's very sideways, like it's kind of off to the it's like flicking his arm out. Yeah, but
he could sling it back in the day, so it was like he was one of those guys that maybe like you were like, oh well, maybe Tebow's wind up isn't as bad as we think.
Yeah,
you know, and really to be honest. Like we actually celebrate those kind of those weird throwing angles now. Right. His just looks weird. It's kind of like Charles Barkley's golf swing. You ever seen Charles Barkley's golf swing?
No.
Okay.
But I couldn't tell you what a proper golf swing even looks like.
Oh, well, I can tell you what it's not. And that's Charles Barkley's. C-Dog, what are the last four here? Look, let's go back to Joey the Blind Panther.
Also, Vol guy says he's got to support all those kids. Dude, he has like 20 children or some crazy shit.
Catholic,
like
man. Catholic. Good Catholic.
Yeah, I guess so.
Hey, guys, it's Joey the Blind Panther again. Yeah, I'm not going to let it do you like that, dude. I was going to give you a roar and the bastard cut off before I could give you the roar. But I got another thing to say, which, I don't know, it's kind of a blessing in disguise. I've noticed that when it comes to the football world, sometimes I've been saying things that people are like, they're sort of lukewarm on. And then I wait a while, and then people are saying the same shit I was saying. I compared Lamar Jackson to Cam Newton back in November when I was in D.C., and the guy driving the taxi lived in Baltimore and worked in D.C.
What?
And he was like,
no, this is not it. Hold on,
like he was unsure. But 2-3 months later, when Lamar Jackson's contract is coming up, people are comparing his ass to Cam Newton. I guess the blind people can see some things before sighted people see them, I guess. But I just wanted to say that. And anyway, guys.
Whoa, that's the growl that makes him howl. Yeah, I don't know shit about golf, Tony. And that
but he had this. The reason he's actually hitting it one-handed here is I'll show you real quick. Is the reason he's hitting it one-handed is he actually swings the club better with one hand. He has this. It gets in his head right here. He has this hesitation. It's a mental block. Dude. It's a mental block, and he had to
stop.
He can't do it. Dude, look, he can't and it's a mental block. He's one of the best basketball players in history. But see, that's why with the one arm, he actually does less of it. So this weird pause, that's the Phillip Rivers throw to me. Is the Charles Barkley golf swing, except for if it actually worked. Barkley is a notoriously terrible golfer. Phillip Rivers actually somehow found a way to complete some of those passes. But man, I hate NC State. It's going to be hard for me to like Russell Wilson. It's going to be hard for me to like Phillip Rivers. And everybody's always told me that he's been this amazing quarterback. And he's been prolific, which means a lot volume. But if you think about the greatest he's like, I mean, Aaron Rodgers only has one championship.
Right.
You know, is that, I mean,
So
like if you judge him on not just stats, but on actual success, he's not in the conversation. And then people will be like, well, Dan Marino. Well, Dan Marino was 40 years ago at this point. So I don't know if that's the same measurement of
even Drew Brees. Drew Brees holds like every other record in the NFL record book, and he only has one Super Bowl.
So I just don't think Phillip Rivers is as good as everybody said. That's it.
Yep.
That's my point.
This is pretty much the last slide that we had of like stuff to talk about. Well, two more actually. The Panthers have released Damian Wilson. Sources tell the
cat
score.
killer.
Yeah, man. By doing so, Carolina will save $3.6 million in cap space. As a productive Wilson, he had career highs with 106 tackles, 5 tackles for loss, and 3 sacks for the Jags in 2021. Hits the open market.
This guy is.
I put Brandon Smith season, baby. I'm ready for Brandon Smith.
Yeah,
I think our new coaching staff is ready for it too. Honestly,
yeah, man.
This was expected, I would think, and he wasn't as bad.
Well. No.
No, it's like our linebackers were not memorable this year, and that's kind of a good thing, though. Is like it's better than being like tired Whitehead, where you remember him being bad. These guys, we don't remember if they were good or bad, so they weren't either. And that's like better to hide in plain sight kind of thing, rather than being the person that actually crashed the car.
Right.
But this guy's story from the beginning has been one of my favorites in podcast history, and that is where he got arrested right after we signed him. And he went to his girlfriend's house. He got arrested for threatening his girlfriend. And what he did was he broke her laptop, I think, and he put it in a bag, and went outside, and then I guess confronted her in a way that tried to give her the impression that it was her cat in the bag, not her laptop. And then he proceeded to kill the laptop, which he said was the cat. And it just so reminds me of the beginning of Boondock Saints. If you guys
haven't, pretty cool if you think about it. Your cat's in this bag. Boom, 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 boom.
Oh, by the way, it was your $2,000 laptop. And then you gotta be like this. It's like, do you have that moment where you're like, oh man, my laptop? Like, wouldn't that be an asshole thing to do? Is like, wish it was the cat.
Yeah.
Like, damn, my laptop, motherfucker. But
my essays were in there.
No shit. My thesis was in there. Go and watch Boondock Saints when he gets mad and he kills his girlfriend's cat by accident, and he slams his hands on the table, and the gun goes off, and the cat. Boondock Saints is one of my favorite movies of all time.
Shout out to Wilson, man. He was a good linebacker. He wasn't anything to write home about, but especially the year before and the year before that, the past 2 years have just been terrible at linebacker. So the fact that he added even a little bit of a good play, it was like, it was a breath of fresh air. But I said, Brandon Smith season, baby.
I expect cat killings in Charlotte to go down by at least 20% now.
I mean, that's the hope.
Man, what's going on, everybody? This is me, C-Dog 1983. I know some of y'all probably been wondering where I've been. I've just been working on.
Here one that's
my podcast. I have my mic
right?
equipment, so I should be up and running about.
Clip that one. All right, cool. You're
yeah,
right.
But he was talking about doing his own podcast. C-Dog, man, we'll support you, brother. Start that thing up, bro.
Yeah, hello, C3, this is Al. Only thing I don't know about the Lamar Jackson contract situation is I know Lamar's from Pembroke Pines He's from Pompano Beach, Florida, same place where Kodak's from. So, like, that's one. And his mom, like, what did she do? She got college. What did she do? Like, so is she just going in there, or where's she working at? And you're going to send her in to negotiate. Is she reading the whole contract? Does she understand contract? Does she have people that can understand contract behind her?
It is pretty wild.
I mean, I think that's kind of the only way he's losing. But I would do it, man. I would take Lamar. I would take Lamar for the 2 first rounds. I don't know about 250 guaranteed, but maybe like 245.
Just 5 back on can I hit my? Do you got an MVP card I could run Lamar or something? Like, when you take I use the Harris Teeter card, and like I have them on my phone, and sometimes I'll forget to pull it up. It takes me, I'm like, I'm only buying one thing, is the 25 cents worth, the pulling it up, having the girl scan the phone and stuff. And that's what he is. That's just a $2 million version. It's like, yeah, I actually do want the 42 cents in my bank account. 245 on it. We got a call coming from here. This is different avenue. Contact us however you can. You can email us at carolinacatchronicles.com. Hit us up on Twitter at cat_chronicles. We're on YouTube. You can message us. And D's Ill Skills. Let me see if you guys can hear this.
We're going to get the offense where we need to be. we need another sack.
Restart.
Hold on. That might be part 2. There we go.
What up, C3? This is D's. Want to give a big shout out to the chat of C3. Give a shout out to Josh, Chad, Bickle, G Baby, Lynn, Panther Gal, Riz, and of course, Y Big Jordan. Appreciate all you guys. Enjoy it during the week. Please like and subscribe to the longest running Panthers
gonna
podcast.
Get us
demonetized. Yeah.
Touch on the QB situation. To be honest with me, the top 5 is cool. It don't matter to me. We can take it.
Here, hold on. I got to pause it. Maybe it won't catch it if I don't play too much of it. The music in the background is going to get us.
Yeah, Diesel. Michael Jackson's estate is not going to be happy with us.
Yeah. Let's see. Maybe we can just.
Hooker. We can take Bryce Young.
I don't think we can play it.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Sorry,
man. And look, we appreciate the support. He's a wonderful friend of the podcast.
And he was shouting out like other C3.
I know, it was great.
So,
it was great.
Yeah,
I think, but the music though is, the first time I realized this is 2015. Joey and I went to the 2015 training camp, and our Black and Blue review. Does anybody remember Bill Voth's private venture before he went to
retiring? By the way, we're moving on from the Panthers.
He is.
Yeah. You didn't see that?
Oh no, I didn't see that.
Yeah, I'll pull it up. Yeah, he's moving on.
So he started in Charlotte TV. I think he was in Charlotte TV, and then he took this really bold step in 2015 to basically do what we do. Plus, but from a journalist perspective too, like he basically became an independent Panthers.com. In fact, Panthers.com really is just Black and Blue under the funding of the Carolina Panthers. Yep. He does the snap counts. It's like you can feel the big Bill Voth is the guy overseeing all of that. So we got our picture. We interviewed Bill Voth on the field, and he came up to the fence. Joey and I set up a camera on a trash can and recorded this, and kind of brought C3 from camp. I don't even know if maybe we did it live. I can't remember. I don't think it was live. And they were playing music on the megaphone in the background for the training camp, and it got us dinged. So we had this wonderful, and it was like, man, we didn't even think the music that we didn't put this in here.
Yeah,
just like in the back, we didn't even think about it. So I remember that story about Bill Voth, and he is, you're saying retiring?
Yeah.
Well, he's not retiring. He's leaving the Panthers.
Here's his tweets. He says, with the start of the NFL's new league year, I've decided to try free agency myself. This is my final week with the Panthers. I've decided this move for a while, and with the 2022 season and coaching search now over, the time feels right. I've joined the Panthers in 2017, creating game-changing, objective, digital-first content. I'm proud of what I was able to do alongside some insanely smart and creative people, and I hope my 6 years are remembered for setting new bars for team-created content. I'm excited to take a breath, literally with more yoga and time to decide what's next. I have some ideas. I'm also open to yet undiscovered opportunities and conversations that might fill the space I'm about to create. Have something you want to kick around? Let's talk. 3 out of 3.
Oh, is he returning not to a black and blue venture, but like maybe what he's learned from being an independent creator, then to with a $1 billion corporation? You know, maybe I wonder what that is. That could be in news. I mean, his real background is in news, like real news. So
I believe he's a Browns fan, right? It came from Cleveland, I think.
Sounds like this might be just like trying to pivot in the private sector.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, and,
I wonder what that says about what's going on in the background with the Panthers.
Yeah.
You know, one thing is this, I will tell you, if you work in these corporate structures, the only real way to advance your salary in significant ways is to move around. Because like a company is only going to give you a certain amount of raise, bonus, whatever structure that's reasonable. You know what I'm saying? We give you 6%, we give you 6%. But if you want a real 20% bump in your pay, you have to jump from job to job every couple of years.
Yeah.
Because they are going to negotiate off of your highest contract then, you know, and so maybe that's the pivot there for Bill Voth is like, oh, I could just get a 3% raise from the Panthers, or I could go and do this for ultimately like Bank of America or something like that.
Bill seems like the type of dude that's smart enough to know when the right time to make a move is on stuff. So he'll land on his feet. He's a smart guy. Josh says, what happened to your Combine show? We had to delete it. We deleted it right after we streamed it because
we were pirating.
We were showing the Combine. I mean, everyone, we didn't even know if we were gonna, but then we saw everyone else doing it. So
we were arguing over it.
We were literally before the show, we were debating whether or not to show it.
I was even sending messages in the background to Cody, like, I don't think we should be doing this. I felt like we were like, you were taking it like we were skipping school, and you're like, come on, it's gonna be all right.
Yeah,
it's gonna be. I'm like, I don't think we should be doing this.
Come on, I was the bad influence on you that day, but I was right. It turned out to be okay. So
all right. Oh, Sean Chandler. Let's go real quick. Man, we're making good time. We've done almost all the calls, I think.
Yeah, I don't know much about this, but Sean Chandler was suspended for 2 games.
Sorry. Yeah, I think this is a nothing burger story. Yeah, it's like I don't really know what he.
Does he play? Corner.
I think so.
Safety or corner.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean again,
it's like this is like 2 games. This doesn't matter to me. You know, ultimately is like it doesn't actually have a negative. I don't have a negative opinion about this player, nor do I. Is he memorable at this point? So this ain't that bad, nor should we care. What's next?
Let me get to the news. So now, hang on, wait a minute. I forgot we got
I might have a couple of calls stashed away actually.
Hold up, the bat.
Oh, this is cool.
Yeah, but listen, the Bat Daddy made a bumper for us whenever we get into the news. Oh, wait, hang on, let me. Pop. Hold on.
It's a Bill Voth-ish vibe. We're just like now we're real journalists.
Yeah.
We gotta
We are real journalists.
The Packers. Rodgers gets permission to speak with the Jets. He's come out of the darkness. I still think the best move for him is Miami.
By the way, this tells me 100% that he isn't going to be a Green Bay Packer next year.
Yeah, I think so too. And I now if you're the Jets, that has to be your last resort. Like now you have to do everything in your power to go and get Aaron Rodgers, because what else are you going to do? Like they have
Sam Darnold, bro. Not Sam Darnold. You could do
yeah.
Actually, that would be interesting. Baker's still out there, folks. Somebody is going to go bring Baker Mayfield in.
Oh no, we're getting to that. That's in the news. I added that. I don't know if you saw it yet or not.
All right, well, let's get to it.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens with Aaron Rodgers losing its edge. Kansas City expected to release Frank Clark. Hey, I mean,
or did they franchise tag Orlando Brown? Who's an interesting piece out there. He wants to get big pay. People don't want to big pay him, but he's pretty good. Or he was. We'll see. I don't know. I'd have to ask a Chiefs fan. But Frank Clark is, I wonder. I don't know enough about his game to really say how he would fit in our scheme that's coming up or with aside Brian Burns. But he has been, they say he had 24 sacks in 3 years, I think. So he's like a 7-8 guy, but they say he's made an impact in games though. So it's like these aren't just numbers. Is that and they'll point to how he had some of his best success this season in the playoffs. But
there was also a lot of stink around him coming out of the combine. I don't remember exactly what, but I remember he had some off the field issues that at the time people were concerned about. He seems to have cleaned him up in the NFL. Like, you don't ever hear anything negative associated to his name. I think he would be a pretty decent outside linebacker in a Panthers 3-4 defense. I mean, he can kind of do it all, but he's a pass rusher. I mean, that's primarily what you're going to do. So, yeah, if the Panthers made that free agent addition, that wouldn't be bad.
Yeah, we'll have to keep an eye on that.
Yeah. Next up, this is kind of hilarious. So, Dove Kleiman comes out and put Tom Brady might not be done after all with his playing in the NFL, according to Rich Eisen, who talked to people in Indy. Folks are saying keep an eye on Miami. Well, Tom Brady goes on Twitter in response to this. Anyone who thinks I have time to come back to the NFL has never adopted a 2-month-old kitten for their daughter. So I guess that's putting that to bed. Yeah, it's like
it's not putting it to bed. He is fanning the flames of conversation right here. It's not putting it to bed.
Is?
Look, you adopted a 2-month-old kitten. Like that's a kitten is gonna prevent Tom Brady from coming back to the NFL.
There's just no shot the dude is going to retire twice and come back again. Like this is not. It's a nothing burger.
Either that or it's about keeping his name in the news. CK.
His name is going to be always in the news. Like you can't be putting that. Like that can't be it.
This doesn't put it to bed, Cody. This is him making it worse.
I mean, listen, I agree with CK to a point. I won't rule it out completely because I think that one of the things that you see with these older quarterbacks, I mean, look, we're talking about Phillip Rivers potentially coming back. We all saw how long it took Brett Favre to finally be done with the NFL. It wouldn't surprise me if he did come back, but at the same time, if I'm him, like, doesn't it look so dumb to just be like, oh, I'm retired. Hey, but I'm back now. Oh, but now I'm retired. And guess what? I'm back. You know what I mean? It's like kind of.
I don't say it looks dumb. I would say this joke is cornball. This joke is cornball. And man, can we go to the next slide? I have a baby kitten that we adopted. I mean, I don't know how far along I could be away from it.
No, I hear that. Heard that. So, this is the Baker Mayfield news. The Rams and the 49ers seem to be headed for a fight to sign Baker Mayfield for the 2023 season. Dude, poor Christian McCaffrey, huh? You think that you got away from the dude?
I saw somebody say that Tampa would want him.
I mean, right now their option is they have no idea what he is, just like we have no idea what Matt Corral is.
If the Jets don't get Rodgers, they got to go get somebody like this, and in case Zach Wilson continues to be a just complete and utter bust. So, like, the Jets have to do something. And I wonder what, man, Baker Mayfield, keep an eye. I don't think he's done in the NFL just yet. Here, I think I told you guys we had a couple more calls. What is today's date? 7th. We'll pay up. See, that might actually be it. These are all too far back. Not going to play stuff that's over a week old. Sorry to anybody that I missed your call. The number's 252-228-5098. Smash the thumbs up button. Be a part of the longest running Panthers podcast around, the C3 Panthers podcast, chopping up the latest Panthers news and opinions from the fan perspective. We're in our 11th season as a podcast, growing so much because of the conversation that you guys generate. What else is in the news? Is there anything else?
No, that's it, man. That's the last thing that we had prepared.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
I know we're not used to being.
You want to argue about something for the next hour that we shouldn't? No.
I mean, we can.
How you feel about traveling to Mexico to get a medical procedure done?
Oh, a Brazilian butt lift?
Is that where those people got kidnapped?
Yeah,
I didn't hear the story.
Basically, they were going down to Mexican to get a medical procedure done, or one person was. He got kidnapped. Right. 2 of them have been killed.
Well,
that sucks.
The only story that I remember was about the woman from Charlotte. She went with another man and woman down to Mexico, and they both murdered her. Like, they killed her. And she was a Charlotte, North Carolina native. Yeah. I think they all were. But the last I heard, they were trying to extradite the guy and the girl back to Mexico.
Yeah,
because they committed the crime in Mexico, so they got to spend time in Mexican prison.
One of my friends likes to watch these YouTube videos, the most dangerous cities in the world. And, like, you go to the Mexico cities, and it's like, geez, this is like a damn war zone here.
It literally is, depending on where you're at.
Yeah. So wild. All right. I think that's it. Well, we got the final segment to do, and that is the Ice Up picks, where we tell someone to ice up, toughen up to get it together. It's our homage to Steve Smith. And anyone is fair game. Go ahead, Cody Lash. Take us to the Ice Up segment.
Ice up, son. Ice up.
Like I said, everything is fair game in the Ice Up picture. This is where we tell someone to ice up, toughen up to get it together. Cody Lackey, what you got for us this week?
Yeah, so whenever you're in a mixed martial arts fight and you're maybe on the losing end of a tough decision and you end up throwing a punch, make sure that there's no one in the area around you. I would ask that you all keep your eyes on the guy in the red shorts.
Now, your Tennessee bantamweight champion of the world, Farkas!
Oh, no.
Oh, just turned around and deck shot you right in the jaw. Damn, man. Poor girl. She didn't expect that. So, yeah, dude, whenever you lose an MMA fight, make sure there's not a ring girl right behind you so you don't punch her in the face, dude. Ice up, son.
Holy cow. That is crazy. Dude, if she got up from that, she should have got the one to fight. CK, what you got for us?
Mine's going to be just something that has to do with Bruce Willis. I mean, we've been informed, obviously, recently that he has dementia. And, you know, I don't have any videos. It wasn't video. It was just pictures and things like that. But apparently the paparazzi were out there just yelling at him to come over and talk to them and whatnot. And like, it's just super insensitive. And his wife had to come out publicly and ask people to stop just coming up to him and even just yelling yippee-ki-yay and all that stuff. Because, I mean, the dude is like literally suffering from a degenerative disease that's causing him to not be able to remember his kids. Right. Like it's not okay to do that. And so the world that we live in is so focused on, as we do here, content and at the expense of people's privacy and their lives, especially at that, like once you're at that point, like the dude has no ability to tell you what he wants, what he doesn't want, and you need to have some respect, because you got to think about, what if this was my dad, my grandfather? So to those people who just don't give two shits about it, I'm saying ice up. You know, and there was one that I was gonna that Cody said I should have done, and that was basically there was a report that said that Tom Brady was gonna start doing stand-up comedy.
Stand up because of that tweet.
Yeah, and there was nothing that indicated that was actually true. He is simply doing, there's going to be a roast where he's going to get roasted on Netflix, but that's about the extent of it. So I was going to ice that up, but I felt like the Bruce Willis one was probably most important.
All right, I am going to ice up, son. Ice up. I'm going to ice up. First, I'm going to congratulate this tweet. And we're not going to see the guy who wrote it. I mean, I can expand and stuff, but it's he said, "No way this guy flexed his EBT." But this video is just uncomfortable, I guess, to me. And I don't know why. It's not that bad. But here, we see if this works. Yo, can you hear this? Tell me you can hear this.
Hey, no.
Yeah.
Excuse you. Excuse you. Excuse you. I'm crippled. Well, I don't care about that.
It's fake. It's gotta be fake.
Bro, that ass, I would take your cane. I would take your crutches, bro. Do not play with me. We'll stop you off that. Bro, we'll stop you off that. I'm waiting for you. I'm gonna smoke my butt. I will fuck you up, bro. All right. Just because you got disability, I got EBT. I'll have my shit better. Sorry. What are you talking about? EBT is crazy. I can't reach that. EBT is crazy. Yeah. You got a disability check, bro. I got a disability check. All right, watch when you get on, bro. I promise you I'm gonna take your questions. Don't worry about it. I'll get off whatever stop you get off. I'll go everywhere you go. I'm off that side. Don't worry, I got you, pal. Pal. Fuck you. You wanna laugh? You think I'm a joke? It's gonna be fun when I take the questions and get walk. And I break that split in half. Come do it, IHOP. Come do it, IHOP.
It's the IHOP.
I dare you.
That's messed up.
You can't even touch the split.
So again, my constant fear that every video I watch that I find whatever entertaining is completely fake. Great video in some ways. Really, just uncomfortable is that the guy calls himself crippled and he just like had a sprained ankle. That's the first giveaway to me. That's a fake video. But then my man said, "You get disability. I got EBT." Like, and then there was like three people. There was three people in the back who were not paying attention in the least. Like, that's what I love about this. It's like New York, and they're like, "This is not even noticing this stupid charade these people are doing."
That's tame. That's tame for a New York subway ride.
So all of them ice up. All right, that's the C3 Panthers podcast brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com, where every Tuesday night we chop up the latest news and opinions from the fan perspective. My name's Tony Dunn. Follow me on Twitter at @cat_Chronicles. Engage in the show in any way that you can. Be a part of the show. Call in and go support Cody Lack, a man about to be blue checked and momentarily. Cody Lashney, welcome. Well, thank you for another great show.
Yeah, man. Find me on Twitter, Cody Lack at CODYLAC. And every Friday at 7 p.m., you get to be a part of the C3 Panthers podcast on the Friday Free For All. Join the show via StreamYard, man. We have very spirited discussions about the Carolina Panthers, all things about the draft, the NFL. It's been a great time, man. Every Friday at 7. Come hang out.
CK, thanks again for all the input and hanging out with me on Tuesday.
Yeah, always happy to be here, man. It's can get spirited, and it's all in the Panthers fandom that we all share and whatnot. And I'll throw this out here. Your boy, here's the situation. All right. So my wife and I had our son, and then we were son and done, and we did a purge of all of our baby stuff. Well, now we have a new one on the way. All right. So we do. This is shameless. Anybody who would like to help with the baby registry,
donate baby stuff,
feel free to let me know. I'll be happy to provide you the link to our Amazon baby registry. But that's not a requirement. I'm not demanding anybody do that. Just if anybody would like to, feel free to message me, as we are in the phase of rebuilding a baby room. So much appreciated anybody who wants to. So
Find CK, man. Drop it. Well, put it, man. How they gonna find that?
I'm not gonna drop it in
Message
the
CK.
chat.
At @codizzle_Allen, right?
Yeah, you can get me on Twitter. I have direct messages open if you guys want to. If there's anybody interested, you don't have to. Again, it is not a scenario
Baby
where
formula is like Deshaun Watson money now.
Everybody's hurting, and I understand that. So do not put yourself in a position to try to help me out simply because I'm putting a shameless plug out there.
We should do a virtual baby shower. How's that? My wife made.
Oh shit! For the C3 Panther Nation.
All right, yeah. Oh, that's actually kind of do. Maybe next week. Yeah. That's what we'll do. Is we'll secretly throw a baby shower.
You shouldn't have said nothing, CK, if you don't want it.
I know.
The public aspect of it is a little odd, but that I appreciate it. Or maybe they do. What do they call them? Diaper showers for men or something like that.
Yeah. You know what? Next week we're gonna do it. See, remind me, Cody. All right.
Yep.
Little. I mean, it'll be small. It'll be small. Be small. All right. Take us out of here, bro.
All right. C3 Nation. Until next time, keep pounding.